Hello, hello.
They put delay, so it'll take a few first seconds to the round. I'm hearing it's not on.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's on. Okay. Quite a delay, but we're there. Right. Okay. Great. We'll call this meeting to order. 6:04 p.m. Roll call. Bernard, here. Pazanski.
Here.
Burns. Here. Opperman. Absent, unexcused. Kager.
Here.
Moore. Absent, excused. Close.
Here.
Here, non-participating. Okay. Seating of alternates if needed. Well, Mr. Moore is not here as an alternate, and Mr. Close will not be working this evening, so we will not be seating any alternates. Right, on to Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, approval of meeting agenda. Can we get a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve as presented. I second.
Motion to approve by Kager, supported by Burns. Roll call, Pazanski,
Aye.
Kager,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
And Bernard, aye. Motion carries. Approval of the June 18th, 2025 ZBA meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Okay, motion made by Burns,
I will support it.
supported by Kager. Any discussion? Okay. All right, roll call, Pazanski,
Here.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye. My bad.
thank you. Kager,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
And Bernard, aye, motion carried. All right, the Millington Township policy for public comments is posted up on the wall. For public comments, it's much more detailed, but the basics are we have 3 minutes to speak. Comments are directed towards the board, not towards each other. If there are any outbursts, there will be a warning, and after that, there will be a request to leave. So I know this can be a contentious topic, so please keep it for public comments for the general meeting. We'll have public comments for the special hearing shortly. Yes, sir.
I'll be right to the wire. My name's Steve Lay, 7600 Osborne Drive. Tonight, you're hosting a hearing to consider an appeal of a decision made by the Millington Township Planning Commission's approval of a special land use permit. Before you move into the hearing, I feel it is critical to inform this ZBA board of the recent Millington Township Board's decision Monday, August 18th, 2 days ago, to launch an investigation into the conduct and actions of the Planning Commission as it relates to Article 1601 of Ordinances 100. With legal support, the township will evaluate the activities, comments, and conduct of the very same commission whose decision is being appealed here tonight. In fact, the very same planning commission's actions have been responsible for numerous appeals and lawsuits facing Millington Township today. Planning Commission has violated the Open Meetings Act, OMA, several times. The recorded Planning Commission's meetings held August 11th of 25 shows 4 members violating the Open Meeting Act before and after the meeting was conducted. Other videos of meetings show OMA violations as members attend other township meetings together, even sitting together and speaking public comments as board member representatives, which is a clear violation of the Open Meeting Act. The Planning Commission signed special land use permits, including the one before you tonight, without fully reading them, and then spent nearly 10 months and thousands of taxpayer dollars to try and remove and in fact did remove many requirements from the permit that were all recommended by Michigan Township Association, MTA, and the Millington Township legal team. Furthermore, the Planning Commission went so far as to retract the signed permits, which protected the township to claim they had a letter requesting modification of an approved permit with the Planning Commission, but never produced it, as it appears the request was really from the Planning Commission itself, which is falsification and fabrication of information. Very serious. This Planning Commission spent hours requesting a mining operation expand into a commercial enterprise activity selling retail products when all the applicants requested was to extend their permit. Recently, the same Planning Commission members requested the Lake Association residents suggested to Lake Residential District residents that the parcel of property in the district would be a good for a commercial storage facility, which is again a clear violation of ordinance and beyond the scope of their responsibility. Millington Township Planning Commission bylaws adopted August 8th or April 8th of 09 very clearly state that 2 members has the in the bylaws, and in there it's very clear that 2 members of the Planning Commission have violated Section 5, specifically items 1 and 2. In conclusion, and because of lack of time, I simply state that the SLUPs being appealed tonight violates at least 12 articles of Millington Township Ordinance 100. I have them listed here, as well as the direct violation of residential goals and objectives of page 39 and 40 of the township's master plan. Those 12 articles are listed at the bottom. There's a signed copy for you, and I really appreciate all of
Do
your
you
time.
want that? Do you want to wait for that until the public hearing so it's entered
What's
for
that?
that record?
Well,
Or are you okay with that?
I'm going to give another 3-minute presentation during that time.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Other public comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I lived next to one of the short-term rentals, the one that's being discussed in that field tonight. Filed several complaints recently, because I was recently made aware of the actual permit and all the rules in the permit. However, I did not realize that off-street parking was listed. I did not realize that, there was actually teeth to the fact that they had dogs off leash. I just thought it was just something that was told. I finally saw the actual permit. I realized that they've been violating these rules of the permit the entire time that they've been here. Being a next door neighbor to the short-term rental has just been, honestly, it's awful. My stress when I see dogs on my camera going on my property when I'm 100 miles south of here, and I can't get up there and I can't address the people that are there. And by the time I do get up there the next day or the day after, it's a completely different family with a different dog that's sitting out there. Anxiety goes through the roof. My heart rate, I put my watch on an hour after I saw this video. I was still at 109 beats per minute. Right now, I'm sure I'm probably over 100 beats per minute just talking about it. This is stress and anxiety. They shouldn't have one there. And I'm gonna go into this in much greater detail, but if you picture a hamburger and you try to fit that on top of a hot dog, the hamburger is all their property, all their buildings and their stuff. It's just sitting all over the property line, which is I'm describing as the hot dog. They've got buildings on top of the property line. They've got their parking pads on top of the property line. And then my house, their septic field is 33 inches from my property line. And I'm going to say all this again for much more time, but you guys had appealed or they denied Mike Utley's permit application because his house was 18 inches from an empty lot. they're 33 inches from an occupied lot. Does that seem right? And I didn't, if you look at the ordinance, section 5 talks about special land use permits and setbacks for campsites. It's 100 feet for a campsite, but there's no discussion about Airbnbs, yet you guys use, or some of them use setbacks as a rule to deny Mike Utley's. Well, please consider my occupied lot, which is only 33 inches from their septic field. And it gets a little bit wider, about close to 4 feet at the front of the house and less than 10 feet at the top of the house. They're less than 10 feet from my house, from my property line there. And then at the bottom section, they're less than 10 feet. The houses are less than 10 feet apart. I bet you when you go to the bathroom at night, you probably walk more than 10 feet to go to the bathroom. That's how close they are. So please think about that.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, sir.
The short-term rental owner. This was the layout that was presented, which included the parking across the road. And I'll address that later when that's also being resolved with Tammy, so the complaint isn't valid. The dogs situation, there's dogs wander across that place back and forth all the time. I pick them up on camera. There's just a lot of dogs in the neighborhood. Every time there's a dog reported, Mr. Aquino has my phone number. I respond every time, and I don't just message them. I go up and take care of it. This year, there's been one time recently where there was a dog wandered over, didn't just got on with the property and came off. But children and pets wander back and forth across all those properties all the time. I see it all the time, and it's just part of the life. His children included. Go back and forth across, and I say that's fine. They fish off my dock. That's just the way it is in the summertime. So to make it sound like, well, a family or another couple, whoever goes there, it's like all of a sudden it's the end of the world if there's people down there. Well, there's going to be people there when my kids are there, when the grandkids are there. There's just people down there. What's the difference between if somebody's there that's relatives from somebody in Millington? Or it's just us. I don't understand what's the difference. There's just a lot of people down there, especially in the summertime. The houses down the road from me, there's tons of people that are always just all over the place. So all the houses in that area are all really close together. So if mine's a double lot, it's probably one of the biggest lots on the lake. If it's disqualified, then every short-term rental applicant would just have to be disqualified. We've operated it for 3 years. It's gone very well. We've had all good guests. We've had no parties, no incidents, nothing. So if we do bring up incidents, there is sometimes some bad behaviors from some of the neighbors, but for the most part, it's done quite. Is that time?
No, you got a minute.
Okay.
50 seconds still.
So on the parking part of it, I've said that is being resolved. And then the one thing I would remind the board is the ordinance itself, what Mr. Lay brought up is that's been discussed over and over and over again. A lot of stuff comes in here and there is just no proof of it. And the one reason that the permit was delayed is because after we got the permit approved, it was all written out of what was in the permit. Then when we go to get our draft, it had a whole bunch of extra stuff that was in it. So we complained saying, no, we just want what was voted on. So that took like 1.5 years to figure out why all these extra items are getting fixed. And it did get resolved. So what our permit shows is the actual items that were voted on that particular day. And so that's what we have that was done for June 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Any other, and we do have the public comment for the public hearing as well.
Oh.
This is general public comment, though. Okay, closing public comments.
Do you want, are these to be read during this public comment or later?
The later one.
Okay.
Harold, did you get the name of the gentleman who was before Paul Dudley?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Make it clear.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear him say his name.
Old business, there is none. New business, there is none. Our notice public hearing to consider an appeal of the planning commission's June 9th, 2025 approval of a short-term rental application for 017-001-230-2800-01, which is 3124 Houston Drive, Millington, Michigan. So can we have a motion to close the public meeting and move to the public hearing?
I will make a motion to close the public hearing and move to the notice hearing.
Okay. Motion by Bazansky, supported by Burns. Roll call, Bazansky,
Aye.
Kager,
Yes. That's right.
Burns,
Right.
and Bernard. Aye, motion carried. Public hearing commences at 6:19 p.m. All right, we have no alternates to seat. In your packets, you will see a conflict of interest allegation. Information was submitted forward. Includes information that has been submitted to us in the past. Are there any conflicts of interest to disclose?
No. I know there's a perception on the part of some people, but this is not, I mean, I know I have said things at various meetings about short-term rentals, but they're now allowed, number one, in the ordinances. And secondly, this is not about short-term rentals per se. It is about a decision that the planning commission made based on the ordinances and the ordinances only. No feelings, no opinions. I'm bound by law that that's what I need to do, and that's what I will do.
Okay. Anything more on that topic?
I don't have anything. Is if Carol, I mean, it seems like it's all about Carol, right? I mean, all these documents, if she doesn't feel like she has the conflict of interest.
I don't. I mean, I know it's not.
Okay. Moving forward. Public comments on the public hearing.
I'm reading this on behalf of Pam Hall, who owns Dutton Islands on Murphy Lake. She's not able to be here tonight and requested that I read this. She would like to voice her concern regarding the current permitted slots. The current homeowners, cottage owners on the lake are being forced to make concessions and allowances regarding their own peace and security for the financial gain for the 3 permitted slop owners. soon to be more sluts for financially. It is my understanding there occurred another slut violation, which is under discussion tonight. The slut permitting has barely started and there are already violations. What will this take to be? What will this lake be like in 2 years with a minimum of 10 sluts and a multitude of violations that follow? Please understand the severity of what you are allowing. Because of the private roads, the lake residents do not have any police presence or protection. The private roads are generally narrow, one car only passing and not equipped for heavier traffic roads or for the needed increase in manual road maintenance. Homeowners, cottage owners have worked hard for an opportunity to own property on the lake that allows them to escape city problems and congestion. The allowance to allow short-term rentals invites problems that we hope to leave in the city. Thank you, and Paul. So that's the record. Thank you.
Others? Yes, sir.
Great.
Henry Close. Back through this whole process, at one of the planning commission meetings, I asked them to pay special close attention to this because there had already been issues with it I was hearing. And I asked them, it's right in your minutes, if you look back through the minutes of the planning commissions. I asked them to pay special attention to this one. And with that being said, even though Pletcher brought up that they were gonna have issues with this one on the planning commission. And if you look at item number 7, for the special use permit, item number 7, it says the property owner must provide ample off-street parking. And they do not do that. If you look, if anyone looks at FOIA, the zoning administrator's report on this parking issue that's going on, I FOIA'd that, and if you look, there's clearly the property lines are not what he said they were. It's clear. Everyone should pay attention to that. He's give you a diagram there of what it said, where he said the property that the planning commission did not do their job investigating that he was telling the truth of the property lines. And it is clear it's a violation, and you have to have that to have a special use permit, and he does not. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And I do have a copy. I do have the report from the zoning administrator here that I FOIA'd, if anybody wants to look at it.
What's in that entail?
It entails her report on the parking and on the property or the property that.
Property line.
Maybe we could copy that and all have a copy of it.
Would you like to submit that for the record?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Just give me a moment.
Thank you.
You're marking these to include them in the final record?
Mhm.
Okay. Are we ready to continue? Or do you want to continue?
Some property owners and that's.
Baby.
It's right after the
Oh,
grade.
okay.
It's page
I
after the
must have
grade.
just.
It's page 5.
Hmm.
Correct. Yeah. Hang on, before we get to the next public comment.
Oh, sure, wait.
Chinese beer. Yes, I'm good. You're good? Good.
I'm good.
All right. Other public comment? Yes, sir.
Nick Aquino, 3132 Houston Drive. There was an article written by the University of Oregon. It's actually a live paper that's consistently updated. It's called In Search of Peace and Quiet, the heterogeneous impacts of short-term rentals on housing prices. So I'm just going to bring a few talking points out of this. First, the key findings are that short-term rentals don't impact all areas equally. The effect on housing prices varies depending on neighborhood characteristics. In some places, it raises it, in other places, it lowers it. In our case, it's raised it so much so that even most of the community members couldn't afford a house on Berkeley Lake today. Quiet neighborhoods may suffer. We have one of the quietest neighborhoods out there, and we are suffering. Family-oriented suburbs often see negative impacts on short-term rentals due to the increased noise, traffic, and transient visitors. Tourist-heavy zones may benefit. We are not a tourist-heavy zone. We're not Disneyland. We're not Cedar Point. Policy implications are nuanced. So one-size-fits-all regulations may miss the mark. The study suggests that tailoring the policies to local regulations to balance economic benefits with the community concern. So you have to really take into concern like all the areas, the dynamics, the size of the lots, everything. Now, some of the impacts on the unfair burden of the neighbors. I never gave consent for them to have a house, to rent that house out. The compliance becomes my job because this is a reactive enforcement. I have to file a complaint in order for somebody to actually come there because nobody's going and reviewing these ever. Nobody's stopping in and doing a drop in to see are their dogs off leash. Enforcement is reactive, not proactive. Again, I have to file a complaint in this. The safety and the liability concerns shift now because now they have dogs off leash. Or what if their kid roams over to my property and gets bit by one of my dogs when they're trespassing because My dog doesn't know that because they're strangers and they're sick and tired of having other dogs and other strangers. Their dog gets bit. If my dogs are stressed out, they came up stressed out, sniffing all over the yard. Community cohesion suffers. When they first bought the house, I thought they were going to live there. I gave Renee, the owner, and her sister a grand tour of the lake. Treated them with the utmost respect because I wanted a new friend. And it turns out they were just looking to rent out the property. So that cohesion suffers. I was friends with Sherry Morris. We were high-fiving, talking about music. That relationship's gone. I lost an opportunity to become friends with people. I've tried to be friends with Ed Matchkey. He lives down on the street with me. He won't even grade the gravel in front of my house. I mean, you can see it. I have proof. He comes down there and he grades all the way up to the short-term rental. And he turns around and goes away. And it's comical. We pay for our own grading now, but I never wanted him to do it in the first place. And we asked to help him out because I don't want to do that. Final thing is the short-term rental hosts, they profit. We pay. Out of all of this, all the money going out, only people who are taking money in are the lawyers and the short-term rentals. Thank you.
Next. Yes.
Diane Wood, 3149 Murphy Lake Road, 7657 Osborne Drive. The first thing I want to talk about is what's changed in my neighborhood this summer. Now, somebody that's been leaving has decided to put garbage all over Steve Lay's property as they drive by. I pick it up. I walk my German Shepherd every morning, but that never used to be that way. 62 years I've been in that spot. 62 years. I'm starting to pick up garbage now. Dick Kiter was on the other side of the lake. He's just died. They had strangers in their neighborhood too. While his Alzheimer's wife laid in bed and he came in from the garage, he got hit on the head by a stranger in his house that got called into the neighborhood. He ended up in the hospital with a concussion and all kinds of stitches in his head from the stranger in the neighborhood. I get a call from Opperman Clark. I can't think of her first name all of a sudden. Rachel Opperman Clark. My renters just called me and they said that your German Shepherd barked at them. I said, good. That means she's doing her job. There's a stranger in the neighborhood and she's barking. All of my neighbors have never had a problem with my dogs. She's a big German Shepherd. She's meant to let you know. But she barked at the renters and they didn't like it. Well, that's not my problem. Well, start putting her on a leash when you take her out to go potty in the morning. On my own property, now I'm being told I can't walk out to let my dog go potty. And then here we go again. The renters threw all of their vegetable tray that they were done with from their weekend over the fence, got ranched it all over the side of my barn. I never said a word. I just threw the vegetables and the tray back in their driveway. Okay, I've had numerous stuff like that happen. Their dog was not on a leash. That was a German Shepherd come over to my house this weekend. My dog took their dog home with his tail between his legs, but she only went as far as the property line. She stopped. She protected my mom. That's 97 with Alzheimer's that I'm home with alone all the time. Because we now have strangers in the neighborhood that I'm accommodating. We still have the shed from that property on the property line. That's still never been addressed. It still hasn't been taken care of. Everybody else has got to follow the guidelines of 6 feet off the property line, except for the Airbnbers. Okay. The last meeting I was at.
It's time.
Tammy and Dunza.
I do have a question for you. You were adjacent to the appealed property?
No.
No.
You mean Mr. Dudley's?
Correct.
No.
Okay, so the shed
I'm
on the
on
property line is referring to another renter.
the Cody Clark and
Yeah, okay,
Operative Clark.
okay, thank you.
It's still sitting on the property line. It's still got holes in it. Still hasn't been addressed.
Okay, thank you. Other comment? Yes, sir.
Ben Mashke, 7951 Houston Drive. I just want to address some of the items already mentioned today. Grading as an example says that due to the short-term rentals, I'm not grading down the road. I was actually asked by this individual to not grade in front of this place. I grade all the roads in our area. I do it for free. He asked me not, so I'm just abiding by what he asked me to do. So I wanted to clear that up. Parking. I hear a lot about parking tonight, and I guess I really would like to know what is the appeal about? Because I'm on actually the planning commission and I don't know what the appeal is about. But I feel that what should be focused on tonight is what the appeal is about, not these other accusations that have nothing to do with what should happen tonight. Okay, please focus on, and I would like if someone would state publicly what the appeal is about. What was written, what was given to the township that you should be considering tonight? Please. Lastly, the Dick Hyder issue happened several years ago, and it was definitely not from a short-term rental person.
I never said that.
Yes, it was from an ex-boyfriend of one of his grandchildren.
It wasn't street.
So, I mean, please, let's just focus on facts. I'm an engineer. I like facts. I love when people bring the data behind what they state. And focus on the facts and focus on what the appeal is about tonight, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this the last? Or is there?
This is the last public comment. However, Mr. Dudley, you are on the agenda. So you will have an opportunity. You're not there yet. So you can choose to make a public comment and your presentation, but you do have that without 3-minute time limit.
Okay, I'll just make a great public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. I agree with Ed. I don't know, this isn't the forum to decide this happened, that happened. If I do get 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 violations, if I go through Tammy, she calls me, warns me, so on and so forth. And then if there's enough of them, she takes them to the planning commission and then they can decide whether to revoke my permit or not. So it kind of doesn't matter if I have 1 or 2 or 20. So I'm hoping that it's focused on, from what I read in the appeal, it's whether the ordinance amendment is legitimate or not. Is that what we're appealing? So if that's the case, that took about 1.5 years where the planning commission made the decision. They voted unanimously, so did the township. So that being the case, the ordinance is there. You as the ZBA, you can decide whether it should be overturned, whether that means it'd be overturned for me and also the other short-term rentals. But as you know, in the ZBA handbook, you're pushed to support the planning commission because they're the people's voice. The only way you would overturn something is if there was some huge thing that comes out of the woodwork that shows that they didn't follow proper procedure and so forth. And so then it should be overturned. But if you're ever on the fence, the planning commission should be supported. That's just in the ZBA handbook, which you already know. Secondly, they're paid volunteers, they're not lawyers and so forth. So if there's some little technicality where they forgot to cross the T or dot the I, once again, it's your job to look at it and say, no, we support the planning commission. If they had dotted the I or crossed the T, would it have made a difference? Would the outcome be any different? And then thirdly, even if you completely disagree with the ordinance, if all 4 of you say, honestly, it's the worst thing ever, I would have never voted for it and so forth. once again, your own personal opinion shouldn't matter. It's all back to the planning commission do their job. Did they have public hearings? Did they go through every single step? And did they, they vote on it quickly? Once again, it was voted on unanimously, both the planning commission and the zoning administration. So it's really difficult to overturn something that they voted on. It went to the county twice. They have lawyers on that. Don Wellington's on there. He's a lawyer. They reviewed it twice. They sent it back. It went for our own township lawyer. Back and forth in the refinement. And he put his stamp of approval on the final. So it's really difficult. So if that's the case, then that's what you're up against in trying to overturn the ordinance itself. So hopefully that's what the focus is. Thank you.
Other public comments?
Steve Lay, 7600 Osborne Drive. I was up here before and I said I would re-enter this into the record, and I will, all those violations by the planning commission. And your job as ZBA, contrary to what he just said, is that you have to supersede it. But you are the overseer of everything that happens in a township. And it comes to you. So you are the final straw, and the planning commission isn't the end all. Integrity is what's in question here tonight for this appeal. As I stated earlier, the integrity and ethics of the planning commission in producing the special land use permit SLUP are clearly in question with evidence collected so far. Therefore, an investigation has begun on behalf of the township board. Standards have been misapplied, omitted. Article 12, area setbacks and height totally disregarded. The planning commission denied a very similar SLUP as this one tonight, because the building was 18 inches from a vacant lot. The septic tank of this SLUP is 33 inches from the occupied neighbor's property. He lives there. Both of these parcels fall far short of the required setbacks of Article 12.02. So who decides how much you can violate the ordinances by? Further, this property's garage is less than 2 feet from the roadway. The well is in the private roadway. The property violates the required setbacks of 12.02 on 3 of its 4 sides, counting the front and rear setbacks. When the planning commission discussed the setbacks of this property on March 6, 25, Doyle Pletcher stated, "We are going to have problems with these side lots. I guess we'll deal with it down the road." Well, now it's down the road and you're the ZBA. Property lines and property lines are property lines. They don't lie. They don't give false information. However, Mr. Dudley claimed on his application for a SLUP that he owned the property for 4 parking spaces, which he did not. 2 spaces are in the private roadway. 2 spaces are privately owned. Private property lines don't lie. When Mr. Dudley first spoke at the township meeting in the summer of 23, he stated before he started this rental that he got a permission from the township to operate this business. When questioned privately later on, he said Mr. Loomis, Mr. Maskey, and the office manager gave him permission. Again, a huge integrity question. Another integrity issue comes to mind when in July of 24, one of Paul and Renee Dudley's renters left an online review stating something about how it was clear that the neighbors were uneasy with their presence. Renee responded, "I'm so sorry, Ashley, that you have felt uncomfortable there. The Lake Association and Township have voted unanimously that Airbnbs are allowed, when in fact the township voted twice on this topic and the result was a 3-2 vote twice, hardly unanimous. And the 9 directors of the Murphy Lake Association have never been approached by this township on which to vote. The fact that the matter is that the 9 directors of the Murphy Lake Association vehemently oppose Airbnbs on Murphy Lake, and definitely because they dilute the homeowner's way of life and property value." Okay. I will leave it. I'm going to give all of you a copy. I want to give a copy of this as well from with all those violations. There you go. Thank you. I just had a lot of information. I didn't mean to. Pardon?
I think you already gave us this.
No.
Is that the same letter you gave us?
No, this is a different one. So I didn't present it to you.
Oh.
Gave Carol 2.
Yeah.
She's going to enter in the record. And I'm sorry if I seem like I was screaming. I'm just. Old coach is in a hurry to get it in. So thank you.
No, you're good.
Appreciate it. And this was evidence. I'm going to include this too of what was actually, as I stated.
In the record.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Other public comment? Yes, sir.
My name is John Bucco. My wife, who is beautiful outside and inside, and I live at 3216 West Road on Murphy Lake. I just want to kind of piggyback on a couple comments that were made about dogs. Do you guys have dogs?
Not at present.
I always said we aren't going to have a dog. But years ago, we got a little shorty. And we love Snickers. And 15 years later, we had to put him down. And that was one of the toughest things we ever had to go through. And I bet you know what that feels like. And I was just at my daughter's and son-in-law's house down in Hadley. They have about 10 acres down there. And she's pregnant once, and I was helping remodeling one of the rooms, getting ready for the baby. And she has two dogs, two golden doodles, a 60, 70-pound couple of knuckleheads that live in their fenced yard in the backyard. And all of a sudden, I heard this scream, and my pregnant daughter was running out the backyard. The dogs were going berserk, and a strange cat had got through the fence, and both dogs got on it and were going after it and got it in its mouth, was shaking the cat. She got in there and she's trying to separate them. My son-in-law, Joshua, got in there, and, you know, it was like a murder scene before they got them all separated. Well, so just imagine what Nick was talking about, what it feels like. You know, Mr. Dudley was saying, hey, there's animals around the lake. Well, yeah, the lake houses are close together, and we know each other's animals, and we get familiar with them, and we know when they're out, when they're not, which ones are friendly, which ones aren't friendly. It's an easy, comfortable way to live. But when a strange animal comes in, then it's a whole different scene. Now, just imagine if your dogs or your cat, instead of that one cat came in the yard, now it's a different cat or it's a different dog the next day. And then 2 days later, it's a different dog and it's a different cat. Your dogs are going berserk, or you never know when you can let your dogs out. Nick Aquino has two huskies. And I can just imagine, you probably can too, what it would be like to be at your house and looking out to see, is it clear? Can I let my animals out? Or is this going to be a murder scene with kids or cats or dogs? And I live within visual distance from the Dudley home. And I can see the renters bringing in dogs. There was a couple retrievers there this last week that were off leash, running back and forth on the different properties. So my point is just, I'd like none of this to have happened. That we don't have the short-term rentals, that we don't have this angst that we have to have with all these strangers in here. You know, and strange animals in here. And I'll end with something that I heard. As I'm walking back to my seat.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments?
Man, the best thing I had was right at the end too.
Mine too.
Just keep talking.
Mine too, it's about integrity. I wanted to tell them about 1902.
All right, other public comments?
Questions? We do online public comments to the letters.
Yeah.
We
no,
will have
wait.
letters that we'll be reading. Okay.
I got it.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dan Davenport, 3170 Kimberly Drive. My little occupation I had for 30-year period. Taking care of the township, patrolling as a law enforcement officer. We had calls many a time. At the lake. Doesn't matter, it was at the beach or wherever. So we had scenarios where people would bring their dog, the dog would take over, run away. Because they're playing in the water, and they could get fouled. And next thing you know, they get tied into one of the lake residents animals that was chained up. And when a bigger dog grabs onto a little dog, everybody understands what kind of a mess that could be. The thing that really kind of makes me go into a tailspin is how this permit. On this lot, that's ever got. To the point where it's at. Where. You as a governing body. Has the enforcement action. Of doing the right from the wrong. And correcting. Something. That was falsified. Maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally. But if information is supplied to you. And this is how this permit got issued in the first place. And then down the road here, a year and a half later, oh my God, I found out that, well, I didn't have all this parking. But when I deal with, and I understand you're not a court of law. But when I did deal with that, that's called perjury. That's falsification of information. That's accountable. You can held responsible. Now I understand you're not circuit court. So I understand you do have a situation where you have information that is not right. Don't give me forgiveness. After I gave false permission. I furnished information that wasn't accurate. Well, whose fault is the accuracy layout? Is it on your fault? Is it on your body? But it is on your responsibility to straighten this stuff out and set an example when something is wrong like this, the thing gets straightened out.
He's good.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You want me to finish?
Yes,
The point of it is, do your job. If something has been falsely given to you, have it reran and straightened out the correct way. But not to do a continuance and just say, I'm going to give you a forgiveness pass and let this nonsense carry on like that. That's going to lead from one slut to another, to another, to another. They're all going to get forgiveness because you set a precedent. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
It's time. Yep, thanks.
Okay. On to the letters, which there are 11. Would you like assistance reading those?
Maybe. Um, Sure. Would someone like to volunteer to read some?
Sure, we can divide them equally,
Well.
or as equal as we can.
When you have to, if you don't want to.
All right. Yeah. Can 2 or 3? I can read some.
I'll take 3 of them.
Oh, perfect.
Give me the short ones, 3 short ones.
Sure, they're all.
Oh, give me 4.
Oh, give me one of those.
That's okay.
There we go.
They're all about the same.
All right, from Keegan Frederick. I, Keegan Frederick, reside on Houston Drive with my parents and am writing to express my concern about the special land use permits granted for the short-term rental in our neighborhood. I do not believe short-term rentals match the charm and character of our community. They do not meet standard setback requirements and conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. The plan was to preserve existing use types, not introduce transient rentals that disrupt the neighborhood. Please consider revoking this permit. It has caused stress and anxiety for many of us and does not align with the long-term vision for our community.
Do you want to do a round? Or do you
Sure.
sound? Okay.
Sure.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Trisha Orr and I live on Houston Drive. I'm writing not just as a neighbor, but as someone who deeply values the peace, safety, and sense of familiarity that our community has offered. Since special land use permit was granted for the short-term rental nearby, that feeling has shifted. It's unsettling to longer recognize that the people coming and going, strangers arriving at all hours, unfamiliar cars parked outside, and the constant turnover that makes it hard to feel secure in our own homes. What used to be a quiet, close-knit neighborhood now feels unpredictable. This isn't just about zoning or setbacks, though I know the property doesn't meet those requirements. It's about preserving the character and comfort of our Lake District, as outlined in the Millington Township Master Plan. That plan was meant to protect long-term residential living, not invite a revolving door of temporary guests. I urge you to reconsider this permit. It's causing real stress for many of us, and it doesn't reflect the kind of community we've worked hard to build and maintain. Sincerely, Tricia Orr.
This is from Stephanie Bible. I think that's how you pronounce it, Bible. Hello, Stephanie Bible, have family lake house. I have a family lake house that resides on Houston Drive, and I am writing to express my concern about the special land use permit granted for the short-term rental in our neighborhood. As this home will stay in my family for future generations, I feel my voice deserves to be heard. I do not believe short-term rentals match the charm and character of our community. They do not meet standard setback requirements. This sounds like what you just read. Standard setback requirements in conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. The plan was to preserve existing use types, not introduce transient rentals that disrupt the neighborhood. Please consider revoking this permit. It has caused stress and anxiety for many of us and does not align with the long-term vision for our community. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Stephanie Bible.
All right, my name is Ian Bible, and my family's lake house is on Houston Drive. I am writing to share my concern about the special land use permit that was granted for short-term rental in our neighborhood. As this home is intended to remain in my family for future generations, I feel it is important that my voice be heard. I do not believe short-term rentals reflect the charm or character of our community. They fail to meet standard setback requirements and conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which emphasizes preserving the residential character of the Lake District. The intent of the plan was to maintain existing residential use, not to introduce transient rentals that disrupt the stability of the neighborhood. I respectfully ask that you reconsider and revoke this permit. It has created stress and anxiety for many of us and does not align with the long-term vision we share for our community.
Dear members of the Millington Township Zoning Board of Appeals, I am writing to formally request the revocation of the short-term rental permit issued for the property located at 3124 Houston Drive, which is adjacent to our home on the lake. When we purchased our home, we did so with the understanding that we were investing in a peaceful residential community. Unfortunately, the approval of the short-term rental next door has significantly disrupted that environment. The property, once one of the most beautiful homes on the lake, is deteriorated into a state of blight, overgrown weeds, burnt grass, and general lack of upkeep. It is clear that the owners have not invested in the property, nor have any interest in the community, and are using it solely for personal financial gain. The house is less than 9 feet from our children's bedroom window, and the constant turnover of unfamiliar guests has made our family feel unsafe and uncomfortable. Despite our efforts to express our concerns, including placing homes not hotel signs, the owners have asked us to remove them, citing discomfort for their guests, while ignoring the discomfort and distress they have caused us. We understand the township has expressed sympathy for the property owners who may have purchased under false pretenses, primarily the lack of available parking on their land. However, we respectfully ask, who is expressing sympathy for the residents who are now living next to a commercial operation in a residential zone? We believe the permit was granted under incorrect conditions and that the property no longer meets the standards required for a special land use permit. We urge the board to reconsider the approval and take action to restore the integrity of our neighborhood. Thank you, Kelly Aquino.
This is from Kelly Marcos. Kelly Marcos, family lake house, resides on Houston Drive. I am writing to express my concern about the special land use permit granted for the short-term rental in our neighborhood. As this home will stay in my family for future generations, I feel my voice deserves to be heard. I do not believe short-term rentals match the charm and character of our community. They do not meet standard setback requirements and conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. The plan was to preserve existing use types, not introduce transient rentals that disrupt the neighborhood. Please consider revoking this permit. It has caused stress and anxiety to many of us and does not align with a long-term vision for our community. Sincerely, Kelly Marco.
Okay, to whom it may concern. My name is Dan Bible, and my family's lake house is on Houston Drive. I am writing to share my concern about the special land use permit that was granted for a short-term rental in our neighborhood. As this home is intended to remain in my family for future generations, I feel it is important that my voice be heard. I do not believe short-term rentals match the charm and character of our community. They do not meet standard setback requirements and conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. The plan was to preserve existing use types, not introduce transient rentals that disrupt the neighborhood. Please consider revoking this permit. It has caused stress and anxiety for many of us and does not align with the long-term vision for our community. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
I, Patrick Frederick, reside on Houston Drive and am writing to express my concern about the special land use permit granted for the short-term rental in our neighborhood. I have owned a house six houses down for 17 years and never seen any problems at that location until it became a short-term rental. It is on a dead-end street, so I must drive by it to get to my house. I'm the past year alone. I've seen dead deer hanging from the tree next to the road, unsupervised children hitting cars with bats and balls, frisbees hitting cars, garbage left in the yard, and witnessed verbal attacks on more than one of the full-time residents. I do not believe short-term rentals match the charm and character of our community. They do not meet standard setback requirements and conflict with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. The plan was to preserve existing use types, not introduce transient rentals that disrupt the neighborhood. Please consider revoking this permit. It has caused stress and anxiety for many of us and does not align with the long-term vision of our community. Thanks, Patrick Frederick.
This letter is from Andy Orr. Hi, I am Andy Orr, and I reside on Houston Drive in Millington. I am writing again to express my concern and frustration about the special land use permit granted for the short-term rentals on the lake, and particularly for the one on my street. A permit should never have been granted for the short-term rental on Houston Drive. This house does not meet standard setback requirements and conflicts with the Millington Township Master Plan, which calls for maintaining the residential character of the Lake District. This is a huge increase in traffic on our street, which we privately own and maintain. This home does not have enough parking spaces for the number of renters. Please revoke this permit. This rental situation has caused stress and anxiety all along our formerly peaceful street and does not align with a long-term vision for our community. Thanks, Andrew Orr, 3134 Houston, Millington. So,
Okay, this is from Tamara Lay. I am a homeowner on Murphy Lake and am writing to express my extreme frustration and sadness regarding the ongoing nuisances caused by short-term rentals in our lake residential district. These short-term rentals have become a blight on our community, creating parking issues, trespassing, littering, unattended animals, theft, noise, traffic, and a multitude of other problems that disrupt our peaceful way of life. The constant stream of strangers coming and going from these rentals has turned our once quiet neighborhood into a chaotic and emotionally draining nightmare. I have deep concerns and worries regarding the safety and welfare of not only myself, but for my neighbors, our elderly residents and children. With the constant influx of traffic in and out with strangers on vacation, there is severe unrest and emotional stress created for our loved ones on an ongoing daily basis. Strangers on vacation routinely disregard property lines and wander freely on the private property of others and let their children and pets do the same without permission. Theft has also been on the rise since the arrival of short-term rentals, with reports of stolen belongings from residents. Littering by strangers on vacation has also become a major issue, with trash piling up on the roads, public islands, and in the lake, creating an eyesore for all to see that detracts from the cleanliness and beauty of our neighborhood. Campfires are often left by strangers on vacation, unattended, and create severe unrest and a fire hazard to our homes surrounding woodlands. As families who take pride in our community, it is disheartening to witness this deterioration and dangerous safety threat to our neighborhood. Our private roads were designed to accommodate the vehicles of the families who live here. The increase in traffic caused by these rentals creates a safety concern by making it dangerous for children to play outside and for residents to walk their pets. The constant flow of cars speeding through our private roads has put our safety at risk. The volume of unfamiliar cars and the activity associated with constant turnovers of guests create a chaotic environment that can lead to accidents and a loss of the neighborhood's familial sense of comfort. We considered our homes on Murphy Lake a safe place to live, and quite rarely even felt the need to lock our doors. However, with the volume of additional traffic and influx of strangers on vacation, we have lost that security. Short-term rentals are not only a nuisance, but they are also a threat to our safety and the overall ambiance of our neighborhood. Our Lake Residential District is a sanctuary for families to live, thrive, and connect with their neighbors. It is crucial that we protect the integrity of our community and ensure that all residents can enjoy a peaceful and harmonious living environment. The impact of these disturbances is not only felt by individual residents, but also reflects poorly on the community as a whole. I urge you to take immediate action to address these issues and put an end to the disruption caused by short-term rentals in our neighborhood. We deserve to live in peace and harmony without the constant interference of irresponsible and unruly guests.
We've completed ours.
Okay,
You got
one short one from Kelly Aquino. I don't like the kids that are strangers
It's,
from the.
it's a child. It's my wife sending it on behalf of
Oh,
It's not
okay,
from her, it's from my son.
okay. Okay, I will make a note of that when I put it in the record, okay?
She made him type it, so he just hit send. without
Okay,
saying anything.
okay, I get it. I don't like the kids that are strangers from the Airbnb come over and use my fishing pole and break it without asking me. They are greedy and unfair, and I don't like it when they call us names. We are nice to them. We don't want strangers next door all of the time. It is scary that they are so close to my bedroom window. Nikki Aquino, 9 years old.
Here's the other ones for the workers.
Okay.
All right,
That was very sweet.
that concludes public comment. Presentation by petitioner or designee.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Just give me a moment to set up there, kicking him. You know,
I'm gonna use the bathroom while he's getting set up.
Okay.
It'll just
that's when it raised you, I saw that. So if I can get set up.
start without me. I'll be fat.
Okay. Just- It breathes, it's all. That's great.
And this is what you
That
submitted
is-
for record?
That is exactly what this is.
Okay,
No corrections, because I couldn't find the misspelled name that was. mentioned,
Okay.
So,
that way,
Thank you.
if you want a closer look,
so.
and that, of course, is for the final record.
Right,
Should we just, I know what you want. Is that helping out?
thank you.
You see it? You see it? They can't see it. That's you guys are being for one now.
And it's entered into
Okay.
public record, so it's discoverable. Oh. We're speaking on behalf of the applicants, correct?
Yes, that, on behalf of the applicants, absolutely. What I understand, I'll be able to get through my entire presentation. It's not that long.
Yes.
First, as you'll notice, my beautiful on leash dogs with their leash on that Arjun is referencing. My dogs are on leash dogs, they can't get on leash. Not that that's okay, they just run. Am I allowed to ask you questions and would you respond?
We are not obligated to respond.
Now, you may, right?
We may.
You may, okay.
We don't typically, I'll
I guess
answer
I would
that.
like to understand what is what are the parameters that you will base your decision on? It's going to be technical parameters? Are you looking for emotional appeal? Are you looking for malfeasance? Are you looking for direct references to articles of declaration inside of the zoning? I'm just trying to understand where should I focus my presentation, because I could go any which way.
The appeal was, should we read what the appeal was?
That would be great.
Um,
And I can read, should I?
I've got it here.
I'll let. The bottom line is honestly, it's
Page 22.
It says, and anything else that we want to bring up.
That's the signal.
Yeah, that's not.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Off the air.
Oh, no.
That was not
Put quarter in.
on page 22.
Maybe it's
It
just,
appears, yeah, it may still
It
be
says.
online though. That's.
it looks like it's still going. That's strange. I don't even want to mess with it.
Is the cord loose that connects the desktop to the screen?
I have
The
it
only
here.
thing I moved was the remote. It looks like it's still going on.
Here, I'll verify. Pull it up.
Wave your hand, Nick, will you?
It'll take a few minutes. to
Takes
show up.
7 seconds, I think.
I have the appeal.
That's like the screen.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
We're still
okay.
going. We just don't get to see
There you go.
ourselves.
There's your hand.
Good, right? It's so long.
The appeal is a request pursuant to a decision by the planning commission. Nature of request. Reversal of planning commission decision to grant permit for Airbnb rental at June 9th, 2025 planning commission meeting. So it is based on what is in the minutes for the June 9th, 2025 Planning Commission.
Correct, and there was another
One more
more
line underneath.
page to it as well.
Oh, that's not right. Yeah.
No.
There's another page, right? Yeah.
On the next page,
Yep.
it says the applicants Stephen Lay and Emery Close, through their counsel, request that the Millington Township ZBA reverse the decision to grant a special use permit to Paul and Renee, the Planning Commission's June 9th, 2025 meeting. Upon information and belief, the permit has not yet been actually granted, but this appeal is filed to preserve the rights of nothing blank there.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
Specifically, the ordinance under which the permit request was approved violates Michigan's Zoning Enabling Act as well as township's own zoning plan, by which I believe he means zoning ordinance
Based on the next word. I
and
guess.
zoning map. The applicants reserve the right to raise additional issues as information may become available.
I think the answer to his question is the review considerations. Those are in section 19.04 of our ordinance, and the decision-making process was in 1905. If someone like me to, I could read those out loud.
Yes. Please.
So section 19.04, review considerations. In consideration of an appeals and all proposed variances to this ordinance, the zoning board of appeals shall first determine that the spirit of the ordinance is observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. For non-use variances, the applicant must present evidence to show that if the zoning ordinance is applied strictly, practical difficulties will result to the applicant, and it doesn't apply because this isn't a variance request. Section 19.05 reads decisions. The zoning board of appeals may require the applicant to provide such additional information as is necessary to make a decision. In making a decision, the zoning board of appeals may impose such conditions as it may deem necessary to comply with the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance. The zoning board of appeals shall decide appeals in such a manner that the spirit of the ordinance is observed, public safety secured, and substantial justice done. The zoning board of appeals shall state findings and the grounds for each decision. Any conditions imposed by the zoning board of appeals shall meet the following requirements. A, be designed to protect natural resources, the health, safety, and welfare of the social and economic well-being of those who will use the land use or activity under consideration. Residents and landowners immediately adjacent to the proposed land use or activity and the B, be related to the valid exercise of the police power and purposes which are affected by the proposed use or activity. And C, be necessary to meet the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. Be related to the standards established in the ordinance for the land use or activity under consideration, and be necessary to ensure compliance with those standards.
TV's back on.
Thanks, Tammy.
Kind of.
Well, if he logs in, I'll be sure.
It is logged in.
It's all good. We're up.
It's still showing.
So
Please continue.
thank you very much. I appreciate that. And just to kind of, because I have the ordinance up here, I mean, basically what that says is you have to follow the purpose of the zoning rules. You have to keep the community safe. You have to be fair to everybody. We have to protect health, safety, and environment, be connected with the legal powers the township has and match the goals and standards of the zoning rules. So it's pretty much basic. So I appreciate that. That kind of clarifies it. Now I can go into the specifics. So. Oh. There we go. All right. So what you see is the first page in the document. It's just an image of my house, which is on the right side of the image, and the short-term rental on the left side, the special land use permit, which is a 3124 Houston. You know, just to kind of go back from everything that I've heard so far, that was a lot of letters referencing the master plan. And I noticed right behind me is the map of the master plan. And right in the middle of the map is the Lake District, which has zero commercial to it. So, you know, just to kind of summarize, part of the Millington's master plan is emphasizing preserving the rural and residential character. Rural and residential character of the neighborhoods, especially around lake sensitive or sensitive areas like the lake residential district. Short-term rentals, while often framed as residential, their operation actually introduces commercial dynamics, frequent turnover, increased traffic that's mentioned several times, and noise that directly contradicts zoning restrictions and the master plan's goal, which is, to preserve the charm and character of the neighborhood. As you can see, you've heard the words charm and character numerous times throughout all of those letters. I asked my friends, I said, please help me. This is our time of need. I would do the same for you. Please write a letter. And it sounds like they all did. They all did it independently. They all did their own research. They all came to the same conclusion that it just does not fit in our neighborhood. So my agenda here today is a few things. One is going to be dispelling the FUD. FUD is an acronym for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We're going to talk about property lines, setbacks, and road easements. We're going to discuss parking.
I'll get it later.
Parking violations, also available parking. We're going to talk about dogs off leash, dog violations. We already heard a great anecdote about dogs being off leash, which I got to hear the rest of it. Thank you. We're going to hear about the misrepresentation of a publicly read letter, the fence. I'm calling it the fence letter because it is regarding the issue about the fence, the condition of the fence. And then we're going to touch on, if it's not too dark out, we're going to touch on the short-term rental effects on neighboring properties, which I kind of already talked about. So, dispelling the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There's going to be a few things that will be said about me that are not true, or the truth has been bent. One issue is going to come up. It's going to be about an issue where there were some renters next door. They claim that I came out to try to attack them with a wrench. And this whole bamboozle thing where the owner of the Airbnb, they weren't even there. They received a phone call from the renter saying that this guy came out and was all crazy yelling at us. So she just immediately picked up the phone and called the police. Didn't think to call me. Said, hey, what's wrong, neighbor? Immediately called the police. So as you can see, that's the police car in the view. So, I mean, just very factual evidence. August 3rd, video footage shows a car doing burnouts in my street, kicking up gravel at my property and hitting my garage. August 4th and beyond, my family arrived August 4th at our house to spend some time up there. We took some time off of work. August 4th through 6th, I had mentioned to the renters, because we're actually kind of getting along with them, that their kid was doing burnouts, and they assured me it would not happen again. I was like, great, good. Avoided that issue. I'm not going to call Paul and Renee every single time, especially when the people are 9 feet from me. Why would I call somebody that's all the way over in Fostoria? That doesn't make sense. August 6th, that's when they were leaving. Their son must have got a word from his parents because he retaliated pretty hard. Now, I don't have this evidence, but this is why I came out, was because he did a burnout very similar to this one. The gravel hitting my, and then all week long until I could get up to my house. And you can also see there's 2 big ruts that he left on his way out. This was before we arrived. This was before I told on him. This was before he retaliated. His retaliation, it threw so much gravel up at my truck, my wife's car, and my garage. It startled the crap out of me. And I'm like, oh my God, what is I thought somebody just had a seizure and their foot was on the pedal. Because he just floored it out of there, left big rivets, looks like you see there. It was ridiculous. I yelled at the parents. They left. And then they came back with their son to apologize. I'm like, your time's up. You're not a rental here anymore. It's after 4 o'clock. You're on private property. Leave. They just wouldn't leave. So I just told them, you have to leave. Please leave. They finally left, and then police show up to try to address it. And of course, Sherry Morris shows up at their property to sit there and collude with Renee and Paul over this issue. Another thing you're going to hear about the parking violations, an image that I submitted, and I actually later on retracted it and said I can't prove whose cars those are. It could be the kids down the street, but Paul's gonna say, oh, that one violation complained about, those were the kids parking from down the street. I don't know whose cars those were. Did you get license plates? The nature of the transient rentals, I can't know whose cars they are. If it was the same cars over and over again, I know who they were, but I don't recognize these cars. I didn't recognize them as my nephew or my niece who are next door, or my cousin or his wife who's next door. We're related. Or my best friend's mother who changed my diapers as a baby across the street, and my best friend and her kids. Or if it's his brother down the street. Because out of the 7 houses that are around that corner, the only one that friends and family don't own is the Airbnb. Only reason we didn't buy it is because it was artificially increased price of $435,000 for a house the same size that I paid $158 for. Come on, that's ridiculous. So you're going to hear a few things. It's all character. It has nothing to do with the zone. It has nothing to do with any of that. So please try to separate that and just listen to the facts. Also, I mean, if you need more evidence, here is another video. I mean, neighbors from down the street don't walk out with their bags from the Airbnb and go put their bags in the back of a car that's parked where they shouldn't be parked. Those are not my nephews. Those are not my nieces. So, fun fact, I was a Millington Township resident. I was number 1062. I bought 2013, and this was my primary residence for 6 years. I'm not an outsider. I'm not a, maybe I am a city boy. I always joke that I think they smell the city out. But I've been here for 6 years. I paid taxes here. I proposed to my wife on the back deck of my house. Hell, our son was probably conceived there. So we're Millington through and through. Nicky Jr., the 9-year-old, who's scared from the strangers 9 feet outside his window. It's not just 9 feet across. If you think about it, they're less than 4 feet from my property line. And their property line is less than 10 feet from my house. So either way you look at it, it's less than a 10-foot setback on both sides. I mean, if we're talking about setbacks at all, that's a very important aspect, because it's not listed in the setbacks. We modify all the zoning, but we don't consider modifying the setback section for short-term rentals. Well, the only thing that compares to it, won't get to that, but it's campsites. So now we're going to move on to some factual things, not just spelling fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We're going to talk about the property lines. So there's 2 different pieces to this puzzle here. There's the side lot, and then there's the road easement. So on the side lot, there's a 4-foot section where their house is 4 feet from my property line. And then it's also showing that there's 33 inches from their septic tank to my property line. You're going to see their shed encroaching on the neighbor's property. So the shed comment earlier, although it was pertaining to another Airbnb, it was relevant in this because a lot of people's properties are built on the property lines because the zones weren't that tight back when these houses were built. So we all have to live together. That's why we need to have a community of neighbors who know each other. So let's just move along. So in this image, you can see at the bottom of the hill, you're looking down a hill, there's the property stake that Paul Dudley himself had a professional survey done on his home. So that is an official property stake. I've gone out there and measured. I've laid down wire and line, and then I've had somebody who used to be a former official of the Justice of Peace, somebody who's very, justice oriented, come and be my judge and say, is this on the property line? Does this look straight? And we measured, and we found out that their septic field, which a lot of these renters don't know about septics. They don't know what you can and can't flush. So if there's an issue over there, it's spilling onto my property. It's also going to cause an issue in the lake. You could never have a septic field where they put that now. I can't even have a well where they used to put the well. So that's a big issue, 33 inches. Anything happens with that, it's going to be on my property and it's going to affect my life. And then if you look at the bottom of the screen, that's section, you're going to see a different perspective, showing that it's less than 4 feet from their foundation is my property line. So kind of to reiterate, the short distance is less than 4 feet from and then 33 inches from the septic field. I'm also going to show you another image where it shows that how close the houses and the structures are actually at. But I'm referencing the section 5.02 of the special land uses because that campsite thing. So this ordinance requires 100-foot 100 feet setback for a campsite. Yet short-term rentals have no listed setback requirement. There was another SLUP request that came through and it was denied. It's Mike Utley's. He's also on the lake. His was denied for being 18 inches from an empty lot. I have an occupied lot that's 33 inches. Again, this is like at the point where it's ridiculous. We have to really take common sense here and really use our best judgment here on our decisions that we make tonight. Because this has gone to my lawyer. And based on some other things that you're going to see, I will be pursuing additional action outside of this permit and outside of this Airbnb. It's going to be more to do with Article 17 and the way that this business has been handled. So just to point out that we have to make the right decision tonight because it's kind of one of those things like, well, you just kept letting him get beat over and over again. You didn't do anything. You just stood there and recorded. That's kind of how the judge is going to look at it. And I'm not threatening you guys. This is other things that you're going to see. So here's two images. One is you can see where I've laid my measuring tape across between the two properties. And then one is where I go down and I zoom in on the measuring tape to show that it's 9 feet 4 inches between us. So you can imagine, this is me standing on my deck looking over at them. 4th of July week, we went up there to enjoy time, peaceful time. While we were there were 4 different families that rolled through that Airbnb, the transient nature of this. 4 different families. We had to figure out these families. Are they crazy? Are they loud? Are their kids nice or mean? Are they going to break my kid's fishing pole? Are they going to call my daughter fat? All these different things that have happened. Those things have all happened. It's nerve-wracking. The anxiety is through the roof. If you've ever heard the term pain and suffering, this is it. So now this is looking down the hill. As you can see, a property stake at the bottom. So we're going across the power pole, which is right on the property line. And you can go ahead and measure. And again, where that line crosses is left. This is the maximum. You can see the way the house is angled. You can see that's going to get narrower on the property line as you get further down the hill. So at the biggest end, it's 10 feet. Or sorry, less than 10 feet. It's a 9.5. So the side lot is just, we're going to get to the fence thing, but they're just too close. So parking on the road, and I wish everybody could see this on the big screen. There's some issues with parking. Now, first, section 1702 of the zoning ordinance, all site plans shall be submitted first to the zoning administrator, who shall review the plans for compliance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. So that must have happened. Somebody must have reviewed the site plans. Now, I have a question, and you don't have to answer this, but how could the planning administrator not take a second look at an official sightline, such as the Tuscola County GIS, which is really just a rough estimate, but it's the most official thing we have, and it's a great first starting point to look at property lines to see who owns what. I use it all the time to find out who's that person that lives there, what's their last name. You know what I mean? It helps me remember my neighbors' names, helps me understand who I need to call if I see something wrong with their house. It's a great resource. I do it all the time. And as you can see in this image, Tuscola shows that the line cuts across the garage, the building of the garage, covers about 75% of the parking pad, and also cuts off the shed. So there's an arrow out that's pointing to the shed. That chunk is on Mrs. Frederick's property next door. The line cuts across his garage and cuts I'd say about 1/5 of the garage off, and all the parking in the front is gone, no parking there. The parking pad, again, about 75% is cut off, and then you can see that little bit across the street. That's road easement. That's not his. And even past that, that's a gentleman named Jerome's property. There's no parking. No park. They can pull into the garage and maybe diagonally park a car and maybe park a motorcycle on the pad parallel. So, I mean, what are we going to count that? 2 people on a motorcycle. Maybe if you get a sidecar, you can fit 3 people. And then the car's loaded up with 4 people. We're going to go back to 9 people with 2 parking spots, 1.5 parking spots. These are the kind of things that we've expected from the experiences that we've had with the other chip boards.
And your house is right next to this?
Yeah, my house is, the other picture showed it. This is them, that's me.
Where do you park?
Where do I park? I park on my private road that I own with my other residents.
I'm just trying to,
Yeah, no,
Figure it
I park on the easement of the road. Cause I own it. With my other residents.
I actually went here before this meeting and looked at all this. I did see the parking lot across the street. It looks like a bunch of people park
We all
across the.
across there, but we own the road. Alright.
Yeah.
I own the
Cool.
road,
Yep. Go
just so
ahead.
you know, these renters, they don't own it. And part of the permit was that you have to have, he has to provide 6 spaces. He cannot take from somebody else and give, that's not providing, he has to come up with them and provide them, it means essentially he has to have parking. So, and here's, you'd have to zoom in, but you guys have a copy of the special land use permit. The property owner must provide parking facilities of 6 vehicles. Now, this is the part here, and GIS isn't 100% always, or maybe it is, and the surveyor is just not that great, but take a look for yourself. I did use a rope. If you need to see a rope, I can show you where it's cutting off the garage, but I can't lay a rope over top of his garage. I'm not going to do that. So if you needed to see a rope, you can come by and use it. But there's the property stake right there. And you're gonna have to watch because it's a video. And for your future reference, there's a link there. You can copy and paste it, or you can write it down and type it in manually, but you can get to this video yourself. So let's watch it. So you see here, I'm walking, that's the property stake. You can see I'm kind of angling it. My garage is in the screen on the left. I walk up the street a little bit. So I look down and I see my corner of my garage, which is pretty much where the property stake's at. Look up here, I see a water well. And then I see the stake over here. And as I walk by, you'll see how the shed is actually past the property line. So GIS or not, here's the survey stake, it's past. We only see a little bit. We're not arguing sheds right now, though. So now I stop right here and I aim. I did this 15 times to make sure I got it just right. And I'm looking at where I almost positive if I was able to laser see through that, like I said, if you need a rope, I'll show you an image, I'll show you a video of me walking out there with a rope, and I can't get past it because I can't cut through the garage. But I walk out here and you can see the corner of my garage and just barely the tip of the stake over there. Cutting the car off. I'm already way out here and the car's still out the street. And that's my truck out on my private road, he said. So just to kind of give you a graphic, there's the well, it's on the road. There's the garage building, it's on the road, parking is on the road, and the shed's past comes past further this way. The one thing I want to say is, somebody wants to argue, oh, these aren't official, nor was that document that was provided when they first applied. What would be closest to official would be GIS. If it was ever referenced in the first place, it would have been clearly identified that this property is a hamburger trying to stand on top of a hot dog. That comment. Any questions so far? I want to make sure you guys have all the answers you need. Okay, good. 1 no and 3 silences as carry on. So
It's a lot to,
I know it is a lot, and that's
Assimilate.
why I put this all together and took the
Yeah.
time to make sure I presented it so clearly that even a caveman could understand it. So there was originally a recommendation that was put into and sent to the planning commission, or I don't know exactly how it works, but it's on video. That they require a fence. Lot sizes, setbacks. They said, let's put a fence up. We should that'll make it good. Nobody, even the planning commission, which I'm shocked said that, because they should know the zones inside and out. They should know that on the lake residential, you cannot have a fence higher than 3 feet. So a fence 3 feet high, first and foremost, would not block privacy at all. Second most is the previous owner, Joe Rader, and I have used that area for maintenance of our properties. Joe's used it before I was even born. He's been driving up and down that hill using that spot. It's the only way he can get a vehicle down there to service his property. It's the only way he was able to have his septic field replaced a few years back. It's the only way I can get things up and down is with my UTV, because I'm not getting any younger. I'm not carrying 20 bags of dirt down there to help keep my seawall floating. Keep my seawall up. So a fence is not an option, but it was put in as a recommendation due to privacy concerns. So, logic here, guys. You can't have it unless you have a fence, but you can't have a fence, therefore you can't have it. It's a pretty straightforward logic exercise. If I can only have an Airbnb, if I put up a fence, but I can't put up a fence, logically I can't have an Airbnb. This is the biggest point I want to make tonight, is that it was made for a recommendation. Half of the biggest point. The other half is coming up where I timestamp some videos and we see some clear colluding, conspiring, abuse of power, conflict of interest. I don't know what you want to call it. You pick, it's all four or maybe just one. So again, for the same reason that you shouldn't even have an Airbnb next door, you also can't have a fence. How are they going to trim both sides of the fence when it's 33 inches? Are they going to trespass on my property to weed with it? Because in the ordinance, you have to take care of both sides of your fence. The fence actually doesn't say that there's a setback, but it says you have to take care of both sides.
Right, but your point is you can't put a fence up because you need to use that property to get through there, is that what you're saying?
That's a secondary point. My primary point is that the ordinance says that on a lakefront property, whether it's a stream, a river, or the lake, that side of the property, you can only have a 3-foot tall fence. Because you can't block my view.
Correct, I understand that, but you're making a point that he can't put a fence there because it's the only way you can utilize.
I'm giving 3 reasons. One reason is the 3-foot rule. And he can put that 3-foot fence up there, right? But it's not, but point of the fence was for privacy concerns. 3 feet is not going to give me the privacy that I need.
My recollection is that the fence was to keep people from
To know the property
trespassing.
line,
Yeah,
right,
to know where the property.
that was my
ended.
understanding of it as well.
I don't feel that there was any context put to it. I recall it being to protect my privacy, whether it be people roaming in my private.
Well, right,
or
but
maybe
yeah,
that's your
noise
interpretation of it, I
Right.
guess,
Yeah, I mean,
And that's why I'm saying it was never clearly defined as why exactly the fence, but it was a privacy concern. Private property or visual privacy, that's what John.
and then it got dropped.
Then, so, yeah, and that's the other half to this, the way it was dropped, I'm gonna come to that,
Okay,
because that's more about videos, dialogue, timestamps, and the corruption.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point out, 3-foot fence is not gonna give me the privacy I need. Second reason is that I do use that for maintenance, to get down the hill, and if you ever had to do any kind of work on our septic fields, that's the only way any kind of tracking that anything can get down there. Third reason is that there's 220 volt power cables buried there. There's also fiber optic cables buried there, going all the way up to the road. So it is actually a public utility easement.
Mystic would locate all of that, yeah.
Yeah, they would, right, they'd locate it for you, but it's on the property line, so you'd have to go further to the right. I just don't know if 33 inches is enough. Carrying on. Dogs off leash, it's been a consistent problem. Once I saw the permit, realized it was actually listed in the permit, I'm like, oh, I can complain about this? I didn't know I could complain about this. Because there's not a rule to have dogs off leash in Millington, right? There's no zoning ordinance that you can't have your dog off leash, so I'm like, I'm just screwed now. Because they're letting dogs in. So once I finally saw the permit, which was FOIA, Freedom of Information Act obtained, I saw that in there and I'm like, I never knew to complain because I didn't know to. So this goes back to the Oregon studies. Really, it shouldn't be my job to monitor this stuff, and it shouldn't be my job to maintain compliance with their permit. It shouldn't be my job to really even know their permit. I should just have a very relaxed lifestyle living in my quiet neighborhood with a maintained charming character that has always been. However, that's not the case. There are other neighbor dogs that do come over. It's my cousin's dog. He comes to play with my dogs. They're called play dates, doggy play dates. We have property next to each other, and his dog is a collie or something like that. It's a really good recall. My dogs are huskies. They're always out. There is a neighbor dog that comes by quite frequently, and I've had some issues with, and I've addressed it with him several times. But I know the dog. I know the person, and I can always call that person, and I know where to take the dog. That's the difference. He's another community member, and now I've got to know him. Now I've got to know his dog. I know his dog's not harmful. Now I just know the dog got out, roamed away. That's because he lives where he lives, and he's always here. So unique dogs, these strange dogs, this is ridiculous. You can see in 416, there's a German Shepherd on my upper deck. He had to defeat a child safety lock, like the child safety things that you cross barriers, because I have them up there for my dogs. I'll put my leash on a dog up on the leash. The second fail safe is if they get past the leash, then I have the child gate up there. This dog had to defeat my child gate. And he got up there. Now, if my dogs were tied down up there, that German Shepherd's up there, I don't know who would win, but somebody's going to be injured, one of them. Second picture, multiple videos, this man walking across my property, going and chasing after his little dog, playing chase with its owner, all over my property. Another date, you see a man walking, those are my bedroom windows on the right, in that top right image. It's like, those are my bedroom, my master bedroom windows are right there. He just walks by in the morning, nilly-willy. I don't recall if I was there or not. That's really concerning. Somebody, stranger, doesn't live there, don't know him. Walking on my front porch past my bedroom windows. My kids are scared enough. I'm scared. Seriously, I mean, don't knock on my door unless you tell me you're coming. On the 18th and the 17th and the 18th, just more videos of dogs off leash. And I don't know whose these dogs are. I think it was made a comment by Paul that, sometimes my family come up there. And sometimes, if your family come up there, I'd probably get to know them more. And I'd probably recognize who your family is. These are transient people. Whether these dogs on the 18th and 17th, it could be Paul Renee's family. I don't know. I don't have access to find out who's a renter and who's a family relative. All I see is stranger, turning over. The best guess I have is that when I see the cleaning lady come, I know it's going to be a guest next. I can only assume they wouldn't pay for cleaning for their own family. Probably make them think. The last one about the dogs off leash, it's one thing for all of these strangers and everything, but then the person who's caused all this ruckus, her own dog sitting there making a mess right where my dogs go. This is why my dog, when I come up north, they get let out on the leash for the first time, they go crazy, just nuts, sniffing around. And I see these dogs, they go right to the spot where the dog pee. See it on the camera, I'm like, oh, that's why. It's stressing my dogs out. I don't like it. And it violates the permit. Again, facts. They have no parking. They're supposed to have 60 parking spaces. Even if they had the spot spaces they claimed they had, they're still parking on the road easement, and that's off limits for people who don't reside there. And then also renters may not park vehicles or trailers along the street, road, or highway. I mean, that's just clear. It has nothing to do with my spot, your spot. They can't park them along the road, street, or highway. That's a separate from the number of spots. That's a separate line that says they can't park them up there. So, I mean, take that if you really want to. I know we're not nitpicking with the super long details, but I mean, lots of the parking places along the street, the drive along the street. I mean, that terminology right there, whoever came up with that, I would maybe go back to the drawing board on that one, because it kind of tells you can't park. Nobody can park. All drivers along the street. So, again, before I go further, are there any questions?
No.
Those are the three main technical reasons. Like, hey, this doesn't fit. And I called it out in one of the very early meetings, and I saw some people kind of nod and think, and say, oh, that makes sense. I said, pretend there were no short-term rentals in Millington, and you wanted to bring that business into the township. Wait for your attention, because this is a good one. Pretend there were no Airbnbs. You're like, hey, I think it would be great if we brought some Airbnb business out to the lake. Pretend that's the case, and now draw up the rules. With no favoritism in mind and no considering that somebody already has one, what rules would you define? Would you consider setbacks before you even allow them? I think you would. Would you consider parking in the private road before? I think you might. I came to the conclusion that the only two people or the two properties on that lake that could actually Airbnb would work, and I would have no problem. I don't think any of the neighbors would have a problem with it, assuming they were respectful on the lake. would be Steve Lay's property. He owns probably 24 or 5 acres. His house is on a peninsula and he has no neighbors. And then Ed Matchke, he's also has a large piece of land on the lake with his neighbors are pretty far apart. I think there's some pole barns between him and the other neighbor. Very large lot of land. I don't know how many acres that has, but it does kind of start to make you wonder. Now, a conflict of interest doesn't have to be one that is executed. Just the fact that a conflict could arise is a conflict of interest. So, the fact that one of the planning commission members is somebody who has splittable property on the lake, and the fact that a house nowadays goes for $400,000, you could see that if there is a potential conflict of interest, whether that person wants to or not, a potential conflict of interest that Ed could make a boatload of money splitting his property, putting a couple of cabins on there and starting up an Airbnb business. That's a potential conflict of interest, and it would motivate him to want to pass these into law. So I have to call that out because that's pretty straightforward and obvious. You shouldn't be able to make rules and law about the lake that you live on. It's unfortunate, but lakes are unique. They're very precious. That's why I bought a house on one. People in a township where I come from in the 2020 census was 99,000 people. Again, I'm the 1,062nd resident when I moved here. I grew up in a town that was farm town, corn capital in Michigan. 100,000 people in the audience, or 100,000 people in the community now. I mean, 2021 it was 99,000. We're over 100 now. Millington still has a chance. Still has a chance to maintain that charm and character that the 11 letters that were submitted all reference. So my facts are over. They don't want any parking. The fence isn't going to provide privacy. Also, I don't think they have the space to properly put a fence without trespassing when they maintain it. If it's not okay for 18 inches on an empty lot, setback of 18 inches on an empty lot, why is 33 okay on an occupied lot? Those are my main points. Those are the ones I want you to hammer in, and I'll try to say that at the end as well. So now I'm going to get into the planning meeting from March 3rd. And I'll try to go a little quicker, but guys, this is ridiculous. So at the 12-minute, 20-second mark, you go back and watch these videos. Luann reads my letter during public comment aloud. I'm going to skip ahead and read that to you, which stated just a portion of it. If the board deemed a fence a suitable compromise for this home to operate as Airbnb, it was because you recognized the homes were too close. Since a fence cannot be erected due to multiple ordinance requirements, height and view obstruction, this property should not receive a special land use permit for short-term rental operation. So Luann read that letter aloud. At the 1 hour and 20-minute mark, they start talking about the fence originally being part of the draft for approving the permit. And then Paul Dudley says he doesn't want a fence as a condition, but would like to reserve the right to put one up because he later threatens me on my property about putting up a fence because I have these signs say homes, not hotels. So he's using that now as leverage. At 1:31, 1 hour and 31-minute mark, they officially begin discussing the Dudley permit. 1 hour and 35-minute mark, Ed references my 2 letters. So I did write one in November. He references my 2 letters as a reason to remove item D, which is the fence requirement for the fence, with agreement from the planning commission, despite Luann reading that letter out loud. So the 1 minute 36 mark, and let me go back that. Ed sat there and he said, well, he says that he doesn't want a fence. So let's just take the fence off. Okay, I agree. I motion. I agree. I. And they took out the fence clause. And at 1:36, when Doyle is about to vote, he says, and I quote, well, I really got a problem here because of the distances. That was one of the reasons for this fence. So there you go. That's the beginning. And I think we're going to end up with a problem but I guess we'll deal with it down the road. But yes, and he votes for removing the fence. I mean, I'm shocked. This is like, now I'm feeling attacked. Like, seriously. So Luann also voted. I could not listen. I've listened to it as loud as I could, like 10, 15 times. I'd love to see the notes whether she voted yes or no on that. Because if she voted yes, well, she just read the letter. The reason they took it out was because Ed said that I was okay with it, but she read the letter that I said I wasn't. I'm just so confused. They don't listen to my letters. They ignore it on purpose. It's wrong. So 4 members passed and possibly Luann. So again, on March 4th, I emailed that letter. The board deemed a fence suitable compromise for this home to operate as an Airbnb. It was because you recognized the homes were too close. Since the fence cannot be erected due to the multiple ordinance requirements, this property should not receive the permit. It was read aloud at the 12-20 minute mark. You can see Doyle and Ed. I'm almost positive. I mean, I can't claim for sure because it's just so grainy. But I recognize the paper that Doyle pulls out of his shirt, hands it to Ed, and Ed's reading it while Luann is talking to them. So he heard the letter read. I believe he had the letter in his hand, a copy of it. And then he lied about the intent of my letters. Here's an image of them. Ed and Doyle colluding while Luann is talking. And you can see her staring at them because she's waiting for them to stop talking while she's reading my letter. This is colluding. You should be listening to my letter. March 11th planning meeting. Now this is where it just goes off the rails. First 12 minutes, this is a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act. They were talking about my parking violation complaints. They were deciding how they were going to handle it. And I want to just explain to you why this is a violation of the Open Meeting Act. Because if township board members begin discussing township business before the official meeting time starts, and especially if a quorum is present, which it was, then it can be considered an illegal meeting. And it was an illegal meeting. I am considering it. Also, the lack of transparency. The public might not be aware that business is being discussed. If somebody expects the time to start at 6 p.m. and they show up at 5 minutes prior, well, they just missed 10 minutes of a conversation that's pertaining to their time. It's circumventing the notice requirements, right? You're not noticing people that you're going to have business and you're going to discuss this. And it's ultimately undermining the public's trust. I don't trust them. I do not trust them. I cannot wait for the opportunity to vote them out, and I will campaign the biggest campaign I can possibly campaign to get the right people in office, the people that are going to do the right thing for my community members, my people, my friends. So I left this in the document. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. So you have it. I really encourage you to go look back at these meetings because it's like, wow, I can't believe you did that. Did you see her on camera? 2-minute mark, pre-meeting discussion begins. My complaints brought up. Alvin claims that they can't act on it until the appeal is resolved. Why? Why? It's a complaint. Why do you have to wait for the appeal? Aren't they two separate things? Is it because they didn't want it to be an official complaint that was, proven to be a violation, and then us come here and say they violated it? I think that's what they're trying to do. Push it out. I don't know. I just can't understand why you would move that. There's no reason. So, honestly, it appears to be an attempt to delay or deflect accountability. A 4-minute mark, they start, discussion continues as Paul Dudley approaches. The meeting is still unofficial, yet the board members are actively discussing my complaint and the appeal. They seem to be focused on avoiding any linkage between the two. This is raising more concerns about transparency, right? And also intent. So at the 4:37 mark, Ed Matchke says, so that's the thing, Alvin. Do we go in depth in parking, or do we make sure that Paul Dudley has all the information he needs to prepare for the appeals? Wow. This is why I'm taking so long. This is extremely important. This is your government, your local government. It's conspiring. And you guys have an opportunity here to make a decision based on some of this. I would hate to see people in this room being held accountable because somebody else didn't do their job. It's your opportunity to really look at these facts and really make a clear decision. Alvin questions why they should address it when the appeal is already filed. He then starts discussing the complaint would be a waste of time, despite its relevance to the appeal's factual basis. This is reinforcing the perception of bias towards the Dudleys. Alvin continues asking at 550 mark what the appeal is actually about. Nobody knows what it's about there. Showing either confusion or deflection. And then Luann states that the complaint and appeal are separate issues. Thank goodness. Luann has got a pretty good head on her shoulders. I like her a lot. I think she's been bullied to death and they've worn her down. I see the way some of these men treat women in this community, and I think it's awful. It's ridiculous. I think my wife agrees. I showed her some of the videos of how Doyle and Loomis talk to her. It's upsetting to me. I think it's appalling, and those men should be taken out back and put in their place. Don't talk to women like that. Sorry, I don't mean to yell at you guys, but I'm really, this is the part where this is the emotional appeal. And the conspiracy. So 8-minute, 11-minute mark, Ed reiterates, again, same exact question. What we should do is make sure that Paul Dudley has all the information he needs to be ready for that. We're talking about the appeal still. At the 9-minute mark, Opperman enters and sits down, and then it still shows 5:56 p.m. on the clock. So it's still before the official start. 12 minutes, 45 seconds into it, it finally called the meeting to order. With nearly 13 minutes of off-record discussion. And it's all documented right here. It's all on YouTube. I have all the video downloaded, and we can use them anytime you want. So just want to reiterate the definition of conspire. It's to make secret plans jointly to commit an unlawful or harmful act. So again, 8-11 mark. What should we do? Or what we should do is make sure that Paul Dudley has all the information he needs to be ready for that. The 42-minute mark. Ed says, if we would table it, I would understand the reasoning for that. Then Paul would have more time to pull this data together. Do you have all the documents you need? He asks Paul. Now remember, fairness. Nobody called me. Nobody said that, hey, your complaint's being heard at the township. Nobody gave me a heads up. I would have been there to address it. But here's the other thing. Nobody called Paul either. At the 45-minute, 30-second mark, Alvin makes his motion to table this. So I actually want to go back because it's really important that you understand. Geez, I don't have the quote right here. But I can tell you during the conversation, and it might be in this document somewhere. Paul states that during public comment, well, the only reason that I actually came up here was because Ed called me. He told me, he said, you need to get up here now. And I said to Paul, Ed, well, why? And Ed said, because they're talking about your complaint right now. You need to get up here. That's what Paul said. Oh, thank you for that. So far, what have we learned today? These meetings are full of all of the following: conspire, collude, conflict of interest, and abuse of power. And since I have all the time I need, I'm going to go into the index here. Again, University of Oregon, in search of peace and quiet, the heterogeneous impacts of short-term rentals on housing prices. Key findings: short-term rentals don't impact all areas equally. Sometimes they raise prices, sometimes they lower prices. Quiet neighborhoods may suffer. I mean, this is a study from a college, and they keep it live. I think you guys should go read this. Quiet neighborhoods will suffer, absolutely. We value our peace and quiet. The transient business, people doing burnouts, all that. We enjoy our peace and quiet. And then the policy implications are just nuanced. I mean, the one size fits all regulations may completely miss the mark. So what's good for somebody with 50 acres and they want to put something in the middle of their property, I care less if they put a train car, a tractor, a tent. I don't care. They got 50 acres. Let them do whatever they want in the middle of that. That's freedom, right? People think freedom on the lake is I can do anything I want with my little tiny 1x1 square feet. No, you don't have enough. So the negative impacts, again, I never gave consent. Residents bought into this neighborhood. We didn't buy into a business district. I bought into, where is it? Upper right. The Lake District. I bought right there. When I looked at it, I considered, wow, can I rent this? I looked at the zoning and I said, no, I can't. If I got a cousin that lives next door, I could crash in his basement, keep an eye on my place. I could have made so much money over the years. But I looked at the zoning ordinance and I said, but I can't. Compliance becomes the neighbor's job. When these short-term rentals hosts fail to enforce quiet hours or trash rules or parking limits, it's the neighbors who must call the township document the violations and endure the fallout. You know, I get them slandering me all the time. They're telling all kinds of people I'm this evil person, calling the police on me and everything. Just because I'm trying to enforce the compliance that nobody else is willing to do, because it affects me more than it affects everybody else. When I'm next to a house with a bunch of loose dogs, 5 houses down, those dogs don't run over 5 houses down. They just go to mine and come back. So nobody else on the lake that doesn't have one are getting as many dogs on their property as I am. So you can't just say, oh, dogs are, it just happens. Everybody's got loose dogs. No, I get 25 a week. Well, maybe not that much, but I get several a week, different dogs. It's not the same dogs over and over. It's all new dogs. Enforcement is reactive. I have to call and say, hey, they did this, and then there's this investigation and everything. Nobody's coming by to say, hey, you can't do that because your neighbor is going to suffer because of that. Safety and liability concerns. I mean, there's so many trip hazards. They're on a hill. Are they ADA compliant? Do they have enough fire extinguishers? Is my house going to burn down because they didn't do their due diligence and protect their thing? I mean, they're not protecting their investment. Joe Rader had that. He manages the grain mill. If anybody has a good lawn, it's a guy who sells fertilizer. Just not best lawn in the world. It looks like crap now. Just awful. It's all dirt in the back. It's 4-foot tall weeds. I mean, I have yet to file my blight complaint. I guess I'm going to have to enforce that now too. So there'll be a blight complaint coming. So just a few references, the road frontage, every dwelling or other building should be located on a parcel which shall have frontage on a public road or private road and prove to the standards of our Millington private road and private and driveway easement ordinance. Driveway easement must be 66 feet in width. So basically what that's saying is our private road from the center, 33 feet that way, 33 feet that way, that's our easement. And you can't be any closer to that. His garage, his pad, even his barn is on that. And so is mine, but I'm not renting mine out for profit. All site plans and the procedure for 1702, all site plans shall be submitted first to the zoning administrator who shall review the plans for compliance. I don't think that happened because this is what I showed you before is ridiculous. The lot lines are just, again, you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You got corners sticking out all over the place. And then special land use permits uses section 502, going back to that 100 feet from property lines for all structures, including pools, courts, playgrounds, and campsites. They can't even put a pool up, but they turned their house into a campsite. Is that a loophole? I mean, they literally, if you just took the house away and put a tent there, it's the exact same thing. Somebody comes, stay there for a short period of time, roast some marshmallows, and then they leave. So I'm going to call that my presentation. And I think that's probably more than enough evidence for a court of law to probably shoot a target a million miles away and still hit it on a bullseye. Thank you very much.
Okay.
May we take a brief recess so I can give you my undivided attention?
All right, everybody, sad to be sad.
Do you want me to leave this? We just leave it running for this. Okay. Oh.
I'd say,
Wow. That's
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, no. No, it's yeah, so that's all.
Oh, yeah, see nine, but figure out, great, yeah, I'm.
So it's just,
All right.
You can get through.
Yeah, and
Well,
standing.
habitats for, yeah. Beautish. I wasn't thinking you were looking over my shoulder. Here.
You know.
Yeah, it's getting there, isn't it?
I like work.
Yeah.
After 8 p.m.
Okay.
Put this up, Jack. Yes. We prove minutes. That's one last thing that I have.
Austin, your stuff.
So well ordered.
You know, I thought it was the same. I thought I had my town and I'm like, where's my stuff? Where was I looking for?
What do you mean you was? Motion to recess.
I'll make a motion to recess.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's about 8:10, right?
8:16. Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm ready whenever. Do we ever sign in sheet back?
I didn't see
Thank
one.
you, Mr. Maskey. Thank you, sir. Is it until you turn the minutes? Carol? All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Ready.
Okay, motion to resume.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Presentation by property owner. I say I challenge you to make it that long.
I understand, Mr. Aquino has really, some really hard feelings, I mean, has some really strong opinions about the STR. I feel like over the 3 years, we've kind of tried really hard to make it good. Keep in mind that the house, his house, and then the one next to it, and I think even the one further down, they're all vacation rentals. So a big part of the time all through the year, they're vacant, and it's really just me there a big part of the year. Carol next door, of course, she's full-time. So the summer, of course, is really busy, but many months during the fall and the winter, it's just us there. And I live 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away, so I'm up there all the time. So it isn't a year-long thing. And then I approached him a couple of times and said, well, let's make it work like I suggested. There's certain weekends he's gonna be there. Why don't you? I'll keep those blocked. So you can just have your family up there. So now it's your friends and your family next door. And That way, because I've done enough other times, and I said they can even, I said they could have it half off or even make it. Sometimes I said, if you'll just clean it, you guys could even just have it a few weekends, maybe Labor Day, 4th, the big ones. And at one time I said, I'll think about it, but then I was kind of just against it. And then we did try really hard. We screen all the tenants, the people that come, to make sure they have good ratings and they have really, really good reviews from others. A lot of them, what surprises me, they come in, drop their luggage and head to Frankenmuth, and then and then when we go to clean, they hardly even use it at all. So I want to get past this notion that there's just a bunch of crazy misfits coming up. They're just people like you and I that rent Airbnbs and go up, they come up there to have just a fun vacation, and that's all they're doing. And I'm going to say this about this situation. I can't wrap my head around it. It goes baffling both ways. Where these last guests that were there, my wife messages everybody, even after they leave. My wife keeps in contact with them even for months. And some of them want to come back next year just because they made friends with Mr. And they want to get back together. And so he does have a really, he's been a really good friend to a lot of people. Then on the other hand, if he loses his temper, then it can be crazy. And that's when my wife, she called the police, just because I wanted to just clarify that is the lady was scared and shaking, and he hadn't calmed down. So they came back to it. The boy did peel out, and so they called him and told him, come back and apologize, because they'd had a good relationship all week. They called the boy and said, hey, come back and apologize, because this guy actually works at Chrysler. I know him and his wife. And so they called, and so he came back, and I think there was a misunderstanding. Nick thought they were coming back she was trying to tell him, no, we're not leaving here on bad terms or whatever. And he kind of already lost his temper. And I think it was a miscommunication. Had known when he was coming back to do it a bit different, but he was so mad and upset that he was calling her names. And actually I have a video because she sent the video to me, plus my phone, my cameras picked it up too. So I was down in Detroit. I was working on the elections, and Renee had to get over there because it was the same day where they were leaving, but guests were coming at 4 o'clock, so she had no choice. So she had to go over there to clean. And the lady said, you can't come over and clean. He's so mad and screaming. So she was just in panic. So that's why she called the sheriff, just to be there, just in case he hadn't calmed down. And it was a bad misunderstanding. I feel really bad that it happened. But I will say this too, that I understand his passion, but he sometimes doesn't tell the entire story. And once in a while, and sometimes it just depends on the day. Sometimes it's like everything's really good. It's been pretty quiet all summer, but my son and daughter went over there, and just as they were unloading, he told them they weren't welcome and they weren't supposed to be there on one. So we have had a few of those problems, but overall, it's been okay. I want to give you just one example. So this was the complaint on the, I'll address the parking next, and I'll try to go pretty fast. This is the complaint. You can pass it around.
We get to keep this, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we have talked to me personally, and I can't remember, but I know we texted, and I got the text. He said, your renters have been parked those cars across the road. Oh, so that particular weekend we were there. So that car in my driveway, that's my son's minivan. And then that little white car, it's hard to see in the driveway. That's my wife's Hyundai. So we were there that whole week. And then those cars, I don't know why those cars were there. The little blue car belongs to the Fredericks. And the other two, I didn't recognize them, but the people came and went all week, but they went in and out of Andy Orr's house. So he texted and said, hey, your renters are parking over there, and that's what that picture is. And I sent him a text, I said. He asked, hey, he said, your renters there, and I said, those belong to Andy, and I guess the one part is the Fredericks, the other one belonged to friends of Andy and Trish. So, I said, give me a call, I'll explain it. So I do this a lot. I said, just give me a call, but never call back. That's the complaint on the those were not in my cars.
Thank you.
Then I want to address the parking. The GIS is just not accurate. Here's the overall, I'll just give you a view of what the house looks like. It's a double lot. So I have the two in front of the garage, and I have the garage, and then I have I've got more parking than anybody on the lake. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating.
Excuse me.
Exaggerating. I'm just saying I have a lot of parking. True. Then this is in front of the garage. So it's been, Joe Rader had it there, he parked there. So there's plenty of parking for me. I mean, I can put I have a huge work van that I put there. It's just, and there's plenty of parking there.
This is yours, this is yours.
This is the view in front.
Yeah, I was trying to compare.
Yeah. This is the view looking front. So I have this parking here, and then it shows. It shows how big it is. There's no way you're out on the road. So this is just nothing. There's no way any kind of coming, it's almost parked that spot. You can park the 12-passenger van there. You still won't be out on the road. So it's been fine since 1970. So it's still fine. That it's still got plenty of room. So I did get a survey done because of the fence. What they're bringing up over and over again is in my original permit, I put down. Again, this is the driveway here. I said I put a lot of road space for 2 cars. And I put that in there because sometimes, and it's not too often, but once in a while, it's actually pretty rare, but once in a while somebody does park across there. And a lot of times it's like somebody elderly, they don't want to walk up the hill to the garage. So I put that in there just in case they need to park over there. And it's true, I did think that was my property because I didn't, there was 3 reasons. One is the realtor, when we bought it, she was walking me all around it like touching mow and so forth. She goes, remember you gotta mow this over here too. And it goes down, slopes down. That's like, oh, okay. I guess I go all the way to the other road. So then a while later, I was talking to Joe Rader because I kind of would go over and visit him and ask about the house details. And he was telling me about the mowing, that he would take the lawn clippings and go. He goes, you gotta gather the lawn clippings. And I go, oh, I don't want to do that. I'll just not use the bag. And he goes, well, I take it across the road and just put it down in the swamp down in there. It's an easy place to dump it. I go, okay, so that's why I thought it was still my property. So then I got the survey done, and it is not, that actually belongs to Jerry Splits. So what I did after that is I have that on my original permit. And so I actually didn't realize any of it till I got my survey back. And then I met up with Paul Martin. He goes, yeah, that area across the road belongs to Jerry Talbot's.
Can you hand me those bottom?
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't see those.
So
Aerial.
I've met Jerry before,
There you go.
like shortly after he moved in, and I just stopped by and talked to him. I go once in a while. We have a Airbnb guest that needs parker area. He said everybody else parks there, so it's fine. I wanted to just show you. I think you've seen all these pictures, but the difference between my property and my neighbors is they don't have a driveway. I have, so they do have to park, like Nick said, they do have to park along the east, they have to park along here or park over across the road on Jerry's property. So this is what it looks like, just, through the week. You got the same thing with Nick, like I said, there's no driveway. You have to either park alongside the road or park across the road on that property that's Jerry's. That's during the week. Here's the weekend. So take a look at this. Pass that around, and that's what. Second weekend. Once again, on this particular weekend, none of those were mine. They're just people fall up and down the road that park over there. So Tammy was good enough to call me and they said, well, what do I do? I did have an emergency permit. She said, I think some modification. So what I'll do is I'll take this off of there. Just remove that. So they're not parking across the road.
Do your runners have access to the two-car garage?
Oh, yeah.
Or not?
Yeah,
They
and
do.
they do in the wintertime. They park in the garage and in the driveway. So I have two here, two here, and then those two there. Now across the road, because I talked to Jerry, he said he's okay to park over there once in a while. You know, it's the same as if they parked at the doctor's office or the dentist's office. The township has nothing to do with it. They can continue parking there, unless Jerry comes along and just says, no, I don't want anybody parking there anymore, whatever. Well, then that's fine. I'll just tell them don't park there, but it is convenient. Especially if they're elderly or whatever, then they can, you know, go over there. And the dog situation's a little bit exaggerated. I have cameras once in a while, so I look at all mine as the guests come and go and then keep them in the. So I won't argue it back and forth, but my solution would have been, yeah, the reason I did pay for the survey was for the points. So my suggestion was, and I called Nick at work when I was at work one day, he probably was at work, and I said, how about a fence? It'll solve if there is somebody that's kind of sloppy and does let the dog run around, it won't let the dog go next door. And also the kids, you know, no kid will go across there or anybody unless, you know, they're invited, like they'll go down to the seawall and come in. And then my suggestion was just we do a removable. So down the board, I already got my permit from Tammy, and I didn't threaten. I tried several times just to say let's talk through it as neighbors. My suggestion would be we just put up a removable 3-foot fence. You still have the view. All that solves the dog problem if it does happen again, which we are trying to fix that. And then if for me it doesn't, it won't bother me at all because my septic guy comes down the other side. So for me, I don't need access. It's a little easier if I'm mowing to walk on his property, but I don't have to have it. But we could make it removable. The part down by I can keep the fence up by the house, so that way it blocks everything, there's privacy. And then down by the lake, if somebody needs to get a machine or something down there, we can just make a removal, take it down, and then put it back up. I think I'm going to try to save everybody a lot of time. My situation is that we needed to kind of have the Airbnb going to help cover the mortgage because the taxes are outrageous and all of that. And then my plan was to, in a couple of years, move in there when my financial situation changed. Our life situation has changed. I have a daughter in Oklahoma that has a little Down syndrome baby, and she needs help. So we're thinking now we kind of have to slowly start selling off to make some big life changes to be able to go help her because she's kind of overwhelmed. So I think what we're going to do is I'm asking the board to just leave everything as it is. I'll make sure to do better communication with Nick to kind of work that out. But I think our plan, and in fact, I'm not saying I think our plan is we're going to be listing it in April and just put it on the market. And so then I think all this probably goes away. So I just wanted to share that with you. I want to say more. A lot of this stuff that's saying all the colluding and all this, the only thing Ed did is he called me. I did talk to Tammy and yelled at her, and I apologized to her later, but I was kind of frustrated that stuff was going to the board and the planning commission and you don't know about it. So from what I understood is the complaint went to the planning commission and I didn't know anything about it and to the township board. So I was kind of frustrated that, I should have been called so I could have defended myself. And the way I found out is Ed just called me and said, hey, a complaint went into the board and I didn't know anything about it. So that's why you can yell at Tammy. But then I found out it isn't exactly what happened, but there was no colluding. The only thing Ed called me about is just saying, hey, did you know your complaint's gonna be on the planning township agenda this week? And I didn't know anything about it. Do you have any questions for me?
I have one. Do you make it known to your renters the requirements that they have? The specifically parking where they should park
Yes.
and that they need to keep their dogs on leashes?
Yes, yeah, and it's in there and. Oh, yeah.
That's a requirement, not just
Yes.
please
Oh,
do
yeah.
this.
Well, no, it's in the rules, and then we do a follow-up, like, remember, if you're bringing a dog, et cetera, et cetera.
Any questions?
So, yeah, the other thing is we did block it from April on, because that's right now. But, we do have people. But up until April, so that's why we keep going until they just. When everybody's, have to cancel and so.
All right, thank you. Presentation by zoning administrator.
So I was unclear as to the basis of the appeal when it was received, and so I did not prepare anything in advance, and so that's the reason why the zoning board of appeals hasn't received anything from me prior to this meeting. But there are a few things that, as your zoning administrator, I do want to call to your attention relative to the conversations that we've had tonight. The first is with regards to setbacks. Section 12.02 is where you would find the required setbacks in accordance with their ordinance. And in the Lake Residential District, the minimum side yard setbacks is 3 feet. At least 3 feet per side, a total of 10 feet between the two sides combined. And I don't have that site plan with me, but I believe that it's in your packet that your chair has provided to you. And the site plan does show that there's less than the required setbacks. So that was a decision that the planning commission made to set aside those setback requirements and move forward. It's not within the zoning administrator's purview to make those decisions. I also want to draw your attention to I did not prepare a report for the zoning board of appeals. I prepared a report for the board because it's my job as a zoning administrator to inform them of complaints that are received. And so there was a complaint with regards to the parking, and it was upon investigating that complaint that we learned that the property that is across the street did not belong to the property owners. So I did make a recommendation to the planning commission. And that recommendation is to schedule a compliance review hearing for the Dudley special land use permit at the next regular or special planning commission meeting, providing proper notice to the applicant. Require the applicant to submit a revised site plan showing all legal on-site parking areas entirely within the property lines. Evaluate reduction of the allowed occupancy and or vehicle limit to align with available off-street parking capacity. The permit itself references parking in 2 places. It references parking under Roman numeral 4 letter B The property owner must provide parking facilities of 6 vehicles. As well as number 7, the property owner must provide ample off-street parking to accommodate vehicles and or trailers used by renters. Renters may not park vehicles or trailers along the street, road, or highway. So those are permit conditions. I would also like to speak a little bit to the dogs, just to make you aware of what the permit actually requires. It reads, pets must be kept inside except while on a leash and under adult supervision and under the control of an adult. Pets must not be able to encroach on neighboring properties. So based on the grammar and structure of this statement, it appears that pets, specifically dogs, are permitted outside under the following conditions. They must be on a leash. They must be under adult supervision or under the control of an adult, and they must not encroach on neighboring properties. Other than that, factual information based on our ordinance, does the zoning board of appeals have any questions for me?
I do. In our package, is this the site plan that you were referring to? Which, for my record, was what was submitted with the original permit. Dated June 14th, 2024.
I can't be sure of that. I would have to look at our records and I don't have that with me.
All right, I guess that was a trick question. Thank you.
I
That's
mean,
based on the record. Oh,
I can't I can't say certainty.
very fair answer. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question. You said that you were confused by the nature of the appeal when it was filed, which I agree it is kind of strange, but I remember last time you said you were gonna make a recommendation. This time you're not able to do that.
I didn't prepare a recommendation because I didn't know exactly what was being appealed.
Appealed, right?
Based on the dialogue today, it seems like it's the setbacks and the conditions of parking. I believe that it was part of the minutes from the planning commission that it didn't meet the setbacks. That was part of what the planning commission discussed and made their ruling based on. I did make a recommendation, although not to this board, but I did make a recommendation relative to the parking to the
Right.
planning commission.
And you said that they're gonna meet again and discuss that at,
So the planning commission, so the reason for it to be put on the planning commission's agenda at their last meeting was based on the recommendation from the board. So I brought my complaint report to the township board, and the township board make a recommendation that I bring that to the planning commission. So I was bringing the issue to the planning commission during that subsequent meeting. So that's why the property owners weren't notified, because it wasn't a hearing that was being held. I was simply bringing it to the planning commission to say, hey, this is something that you're going to need to address. Does that answer your
it
question?
does, yeah, thank you, it does.
So, but my recommendations relative to the parking were already in that initial report, and that was that the site plan would have to be revised and that the parking would have to be specific to what the property owner actually owns.
Do the garage spaces not count for parking?
The garage spaces, they're,
Yeah, so he has that,
so that,
but he still needs to revise.
so, but the parking across the street is what you have
Correct,
to.
yes,
bring
that
in.
absolutely needs to be revised.
So I think that there is, some discrepancy about the parking spaces in front of the garage as to whether or not that is on the property itself or if it's over the property line. So it has been the township's position since I've taken the position as zoning administrator that we do not engage in property line disputes. So whether those parking places qualify or not is not for me to decide.
Correct.
Why is that being disputed?
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Anything else?
My question is, or not question, I guess maybe it is. My impression from the appeal was that this was an administrative appeal. It was strictly based on whether the planning commission followed the ordinances when granting permit.
That's my understanding of it. Well,
And I believe that will be what we deliberate
And-
on.
Okay, so a lot of what we have heard tonight, while it's meaningful, it really does not affect what we have to decide.
correct.
Okay, as long as we're clear.
Did you
have a question for me?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry, unless you want to add something to
okay.
what I just said.
All right, on to ZBA discussion
Okay,
and act. And, as we had worked through the hearing this evening, that was my note as well, is that this hearing is not about complaints, which are handled through the zoning enforcement officer. And has explained how they've gone so forward. So that is following its procedure. It's certainly not about our opinion, as nothing we do on this board is. Now, it's not about the ordinance itself.
correct.
Because that is beyond the jurisdiction of the board. It's not about the collaboration and disagreement among neighbors, which it's refreshing to see if there's communication. I will state that. So it may be good or bad, but there is at least communication.
It's done now, honestly, I've stopped communicating.
Okay. But we are here about procedure and adherence to the ordinance. And this is in reference to the June 9th decision and the record associated with that, which is substantial. As you saw the packet created, as this has been discussed over and over throughout the process. What I heard road right of way, property lines and setbacks. The ZIA report indicating that there's parking issue. The site plan should have been reviewed by the zoning administrator. Parking needs to be on site, which was in. Not sure about that. We need to review how their decision was made.
It was clarified tonight, but we're not talking about
That's
tonight.
Okay, you're correct,
Okay.
yes.
We're talking about June 9th only, basically. And events leading up to it.
Yes, which. I mean, based on their permit, I mean, this is started in June 14th, 2024.
Right.
What are others' statements? We have a number of notes that I took down as well. After my review of it. Any statements, or do I keep going?
They did in the beginning, back in October of 24.
Oh, and Carol did present her current timeline for us, which was.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The motion to approve the special land use permit. They did go over the basics of what needed to be done as part of the process. Now, let me find it. Yeah. October 14th. So it's agreed that Articles 1801 and 1802 had been fulfilled. They talked about 1803. Proposed use in harmony, no traffic hazard is created. Site layout noted close boundaries, so all of those specific requirements of the zoning district would be met
According to their motion.
according to their minutes.
Okay.
I mean, it was a very convoluted process, as you can see. It was tabled. How many times, Paul? A lot, I know.
So section 18, just if I may, section 18 specific to the standards of approval for a special land use permit. Is that specific to the conditions like setbacks or parking?
Okay.
That's helpful.
Fact that a revised site plan and review of parking is concerning. So as I looked through their process, which, my gosh,
The planning commission.
yes. October 10th, they did their special hearing. And it included everything: application, fee receipt, public notice, addresses. It was all there. We held a second special hearing. They had public notice, addresses of those that visited. The planning commission stated there was no fee because the planning commission requested the change.
That was the fence. No,
No, this is where they were, well,
what page were they on?
What road is it?
this is just my notes. That was on March 6th. However. I'm not sure what page.
This one shows on these notes, I don't know.
Okay.
23, 24, I think, 3, 6 and 25.
Since the packet was made, I started looking into how that hearing was conducted. The notice for that hearing was approval document contents corrections. And at this meeting, the planning commission will consider and hold a public hearing for the already approved short-term rental special land use approval document content or corrections for the following location. It moves on to the address and parcel.
So that's correct. No,
They modified it. They modified the permit at that meeting. They modified.
They added approved to the final permit under ID2. They changed 6 guests to 9. They changed item C. They omitted property owners and about quiet hours. Item 4D, they removed fence requirement. They removed the requirement for liability insurance. Some of these I don't know. And was removed in its entirety. For retained 2 sentences and removed something else. But was puzzling there, they agreed to date the permit as of that day. Because the permit dated 10/14 had never been finalized. I mean, it was so convoluted. Mind-boggling.
I had a huge concern about that standing up in court. The record is quite challenging. So let me. So I look at this and that, what date was that last hearing? June 9th?
June 9th.
9th. The modification procedure did not meet the requirements of 1801 because it didn't start with the required application. That ordinance requirement was affirmed by the Millington Township Board on April 21st. And it was indicated in the meeting minutes on June 9th, prior to this being approved.
And we don't have April's minutes in our packet.
I'm not sure that no, this was.
April never happened. They had an in-service.
Correct. The April 21st was the board meeting.
Okay.
So at that meeting, which since doing that, the packet, I do have a copy of their minutes. And action item, motion made by Jarzel, support by Kenneth. That we direct the planning commission to require a written request for a change of an SLUP or proof of need and justification. That would be spelled out in the request as recommended by our lawyer. It 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 voted yes, 1 abstained. Motion. So that was the reference there. And it happened earlier in the meeting. If you go on page 90 in your packet, in their minutes, it was stated at the direction of the Millington Township Board, Jarzel presented board minutes on April 21st, noting items directing the planning commission to require a written request for a change of an SLUP.
Okay, I did read that.
Yep, and proof of need and justification to be spelled out in the request as listed in our ordinance and recommended by our, so it matched the meeting minutes. And then further in the meeting, they went through and approved it anyway.
So was it modified at that meeting or was it initially approved at that meeting?
That is the question.
It was noticed as a modification, but I think I'm not sure it was approved prior.
The only dated version of that, the only final signed version. Page was that on? other binder. Oh, where did we go? Page 22 of the binder. And that's the only signed version. It was signed on June 13th. So that was per the meeting on June 9th. Though it's dated March 6th. With the public hearing date of October 14th, which doesn't match the June 9th.
And also on June 9th, it says. The board reviewed the changes discussed last month, which was May. And is now in front of us. It was noted the permit holder had asked for changes on 3/6/25, which was within 30 days of the permit being issued. But I could not find anything that showed the permit being issued 30 days before March 6th.
It couldn't have been, the first hearing occurred then. But, and it's funny, I had noted that as well in my notes. So back to that application, which that's a sticky one. Because the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act requires the application to be included in the process per 125.3502. Number 1, the zoning ordinance shall specify all of the following. A, special land uses and activities eligible for approval and the body or official responsible for reviewing and granting approval. B, the requirements and standards for approving a request for a special land use. C, procedures and supporting materials required for the application, review, and approval of a special land use. Other items of concern. The public hearing was called by the planning commission, but the minutes reflect that the property owner requested changes on January 13th. Which is contrary to the approval motion of the planning commission. That puts the lack of the fee paid into question.
Right.
Next, which was already covered though, the public hearing notice was misleading to the residents. It was inaccurate because the meeting was also intended on modifying the permit to remove the fence requirement per the January 13th meeting minutes, and also change the count of guests to 9. That was questionable at the March 6th meeting minutes because it indicated that the permit was not finalized. As indicated in the May 12th meeting minutes, the motion did not include a basis for a decision as required by the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act 125.3502 number 4, which I'll read the whole thing just to make sure it's clear. The body or official designated to review and approve special land uses may approve, deny, approve, or approve with conditions a request for a special land use approval. The decision on a special land use shall be incorporated into a statement of findings and conclusions relative to the special land use, which specifies the basis for the decision and any conditions imposed. Which, back in October, it was documented, not on the modification hearing. It's not there. The permit dates are terribly obscure.
And I don't think there's a basis for any of these decisions, to be honest.
Not
That is
provided.
written, yeah, that's not provided in the.
Which that is the only thing that would be heard in court.
Right.
Next. The zoning application signed June 14th. Oh, that was June 13th. Oh, yeah, what was that? Page 22 in the other binder.
The March 8th, 2025.
Signed June 13th, page 24. So correct me on my date there. No. The zoning application signed June 13th, 2020. I see what it took a full year for this thing. Well, minus 1 day. That's, I knew it dragged out. It sure did. They applied on June 14th and it wasn't signed until June 13th of the following year. Okay.
Right, but signed on the 13th of June with a date of the public hearing of October 14th.
Correct. In an applicable date, the date on the top is March 6th.
Right. It's like,
So, okay, going back to that, now that I had the dumbstruck of the dates here. Okay. The zoning application signed June 14th, 2024, which was provided by property owner, indicates a sketch of the property, but lacks the required components of building size and total square feet of existing garage and shed structures. This also lacks in detail of, and I quote from the ordinance, the sketch must, from the application file, the sketch must include compliance with setback and height regulations. This did not include setbacks of each structure, and actually, I don't think it included the setbacks of any structure. Okay. This missing information indicates that the planning commission was challenged in meeting 18.03A, which states, and I quote, the location, size, and character of the proposed use shall be in harmony with and appropriate to the surrounding neighborhood. The sketch indicates that it's not to scale. It actually says it right on the sketch. That's in violation of 18.01 that states the scale drawing shall show existing and proposed buildings, driveways, points of egress, parking areas, fencing, landscaping, signs, and roads right of ways. Well, it certainly wasn't to scale and it did not show those items. What's interesting that was discovered this evening, page 63 in the packet, on the October 14th minutes, indicates, and you actually spoke about this, Ms. Kager, they reviewed the site plan and scale drawing, parking and property description, all fulfilled 1801 of the ordinance. There's no record to support that statement.
except.
There was a drawing.
Yeah.
But there is nothing to support that. We have to follow the ordinance and make sure the record was correct. Because move that forward, especially with everything you heard tonight, which, I mean, enforcement issues, dogs barking, none of that applies to our decision here.
Right.
But setback sure was in there. I don't see how the township would have a leg to stand on as far as defending this.
No, that and the simple thing of a basis for a decision is missing in every single one of these things. And that would just throw everything out.
Violated the zoning enabling act. The new issues, which are not necessarily in our review, but yet they are because the suggestion is to have the planning commission review a revised site plan and review the parking. They weren't able to review it in the first place based on the lack of record that came into them. So the permit needs to go for a modification based on what's happened since this appeal was filed. And looking at the appeal itself, the record was not there. The decision could not be sound.
Now, an option is to affirm with modification, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. We can affirm with modifications, we can reverse it, or we can affirm it. Affirm, reverse, or modify.
Right.
We can impose the same conditions that they should have.
We can do that, but the record does not show, and it still does not show the required site plan. So even with that, the record is still deficient. That's just a problem.
The property owner and I have discussed the fact that he needs to submit a revised site plan, and so that's a conversation that we've already. But no, that is available tonight, something that we expect to receive in the future.
Well, that could be an imposed condition. We could just add that.
We can't.
We can
So, oh no, we've been down that road.
Oh, that for the site plans,
Uh-huh.
right?
The process for a modification or going through it all together anew is the same. The ordinance and state law declares how a special land use needs to be done. Based on all that, I do not see an option other than to reverse it. I mean, the deficiencies are there, especially rewind back to the decision that was appealed.
I agree.
Doesn't mean that they won't go through and get it approved with a sufficient record, but that's not within our jurisdiction.
I'm still confused about these dates on page 93 where it says review and approval of Paul and Ray Dudley and Rachel Opperman and Cody Clark special land use permit approval documents. Board reviewed the changes discussed last month and now in front of us. It was noted the permit holder had asked for changes on 3/6 of 25, which is now 30 days of the permit being issued. 9 overnight guests, all wording is correct. I mean, didn't the Rachel Opperman Clark, that was approved and it was appealed and we heard that? Didn't we make a decision on that?
I wasn't part of that one, I don't know.
This is in June 9th, though, so this is after.
25.
Correct. They did, I think they did multiple special hearings, didn't they? There's been a lot of them going on.
They modified all of the special land use permits that they have issued over the last year.
So looking at tunnel visioning on just this.
Right.
However, you're pointing out issues with the record itself. And I still don't know what the 30 days means. And
I don't know, it's So you're gonna make a motion to reverse it? Reverse the planning commission's decision because of
Yeah, I've got it.
the site plan? Oh, you've already got it, okay.
Is there anything to add back to tonight?
I mean, you could just state the site plan, right? I mean, you don't have to.
No. Well, once I make the motion, the group is happy, they can amend it. Make sure that I have, okay. So I'll make the motion, or, well, are we done with deliberation? Ready? Okay. So I move to reverse the short-term rental special land use permit for 3124 Houston Drive. Due to, one. I can provide you a copy of this for your needs.
Thank you.
The planning commission not adhering to section 18.01 of the township ordinance, which requires the special land use permit process to start with an application for the March 6, 2025 public hearing. 2. The planning commission not adhering to MCL 125.3502, which indicates that special land uses must include supporting materials and procedures for application, review, and approval of a special land use. 3. The planning commission not adhering to MCL 125.3502 by not including the basis of decision. 4. The public hearing notice did not state the actual intent of the required public hearing, which included modifying the permit for a fence requirement and the number of permitted guests. 5. The permit not accurately reflecting the record. Let me state that one again. 5. The permit not accurately reflecting the record due to inaccurate dates. 6. The original permit application dated June 14th, 2024, not meeting the requirements of 18.01, which require a scale drawing with related setbacks. And that concludes the motion.
I support.
Go back to my meeting templates. Okay, motion made by Bernard, supported by Kager. Any discussion?
I have none. It's a lot of mistakes.
Unfortunately, yes, which is to the detriment of the community and to the detriment of the property owner.
It's sad that planning commission has not followed the ordinances, the zoning enabling act that I know it's hard. People are not trained of attorneys. They have live. But if you've got a position on a board, you've got to make time to read and know what you're doing.
And we must follow that ordinance.
Yeah.
There's no other way about it. All right. Any other? Ms. Burns? None. All right, roll call. Pizanski,
Aye.
Kager,
Hi.
Burns.
It's just a roll call.
Sorry. Well,
It's getting
You're
late.
voting in favor by stating aye.
No, nay,
Nay? Okay,
nay, sorry, I thought you were just doing roll call.
okay,
I'm sorry. I completely misunderstood.
It's getting late. It's
okay.
past 9. I feel you.
And Bernard, aye, motion carried.
Sorry about that.
No problem. All right, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and return to the public meeting. Can I get support?
Is that feedback?
All in favor? Oh, we have roll call on the minute, the notes. Oh, we're not done there yet. Oh, yes, you're right. Okay, roll call. Krasansky. This is to close the public hearing and return to the public meeting.
Aye.
Okay, Kager,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
thank you. Bernard,
For the clarification.
Bernard, aye, motion carries. Public meeting resumes at 8:20.
9:20.
Oh, good lord. Yep.
Talked an hour.
Sorry. All right, ZBA member comments, including any trending updates.
None.
We do have I don't been shared, but the board has given approval several upcoming trainings, including a planning and zoning October 29th, 30th, I want to say.
Okay.
They did give approval for anyone that wants to attend. The registration is open, so let me check the dates so I have it correctly. Each contact Andy. You would just, contact Jackie and let her know if you want to go in.
They'll send out a message. I haven't
It's
seen it.
October 29th to 30th.
Does it say what time?
August too, would there not?
It's through the day. It's October 29th from 8:30 to 5 at the Bavarian Inn Lodge. It's a 2-day. And then it's October 30th from 8 to 4.
Oh, boy. Okay.
It's
Jeez.
called their 2025 Planning and Zoning Team Professional Development Retreat.
Wow.
You go to both, you just go to one, right? So it's the same thing.
2 days.
Oh,
The 2-day training.
Oh,
you
okay.
probably just said that, sorry.
No, it's been a long night. I guess my announcement, next meeting is September 10th, 2025. We have our regular meeting scheduled for. Okay. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Bernard, seconded by Burns. Yeah. Really a roll call. Roll call, Krasansky.
Aye.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, right.
Eric, motion carries. He sets up a template. He said, I'm doing my best to help.
I'm here, still.
Right, I know.
Would this help you to have all of it?
Yeah, I'll add that.
And
Nice to see this new thing here.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good night.
Appreciate your time. I apologize for going so long. I realize that 90% of everything I said probably no relevance. But I'm not good like that. Fine, you guys were fine. I don't have that document.
sure.
Yeah.
There we go.
Don't know what's going on and what.
I will make sure you do. They usually send it to him. You.
Okay.
Do your own. Okay.
How's that?
Burn.
And
Is it all?
Hmm.